Chapter 399. Don't say any more, don't say any more. Li Duobao cried out loud. Why did you become like this? In my eyes, you are like my biological father. Why did you treat me like this? I hate you. I don't want to see you again. Go. Sadness, pain, fear, and many negative emotions intertwined in her heart, fermented, and finally burst out. She broke down and cried bitterly, pushing Xiao Dai away. Xiao Dai staggered back a few steps and stared blankly at Li Duobao, who was crying bitterly. Duobao, I'm sorry, I was really confused for a moment. Go away, I don't want to talk to you. Li Duobao covered her mouth and cried, leaving Xiao Dai, who was standing there in a daze, and went to the dining room to take care of her mother. The blood on Wuxia's face had been wiped clean, and the swollen area from Xiao Dai's slap was even more obvious. Li Duobao bit her lips, and her heart ached so much that she cried. Bailey Yun put his arm around her shoulder and said, Duobao, is there a medicine box at home? Yes, I'll go get it right away. Li Duobao wiped her tears and quickly ran to the room to take out the medicine box. Bailey Yun used gauze to bandage Wuxia's head, and then used alcohol to disinfect the wound on her face. After all of this was done, the ambulance had already arrived, and the nurse carried Wuxia onto the stretcher. Bailey Yun and Li Duobao also followed in. Xiao Dai also wanted to follow, but Bailey Yun said with a calm face, Duobao and her mother don't want to see you. Bang! The car door closed close to Xiao Dai's nose, and he suddenly trembled. Inside the ambulance, the doctor gave Wuxia a simple examination. Li Duobao asked uneasily, Doctor, how is my mother? The external injuries are not very serious. After arriving at the hospital, do a head CT scan to see if there are any internal injuries. Thank you, doctor. Your mother will definitely be fine. Bailey Yun held her hand, and his gaze fell on her face. There were a few clear finger marks on her white cheeks, and he asked with heartache, Does the wound on your face still hurt? She forced a smile. It's fine, it doesn't hurt at all. If it hurts, just say it. You don't have to pretend in front of me. Bailey Yun released her hand and took out a tube of ointment from his pocket. He unscrewed the cap and said, Come closer. I'll help you apply the ointment. Li Duobao guiltily glanced at the nurses and doctors in the ambulance and whispered, No need, I'm really fine. Bailey Yun turned a deaf ear to her words. He applied the ointment on his fingertips and lifted her chin with his other hand. Her face heated up and she subconsciously shrank back. He whispered, Don't move. It'll be done soon. Li Duobao quietly glanced around. The doctors and nurses were taking care of his mother very seriously, as if they didn't hear or see anything. Just as she was distracted, his fingers gently landed on her face. Little by little, he slowly rubbed the ointment into her skin. It's done. He stroked the hair by her ear and smiled. She pursed her lips. Why did you hide the ointment in your pocket? I specially left it for you. He was busy treating her mother's wounds and didn't have time to help her apply the ointment, so when the ambulance arrived, he casually put the ointment into his pocket. Li Duobao's heart was surrounded by a thick warmth. She stared into his deep eyes and smiled. The ambulance quickly arrived at the hospital and Wuxia was sent to the examination room. Bai Li Yun accompanied her in the corridor as she waited. From time to time, she would uneasily raise her head and look at the examination room like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. His heart ached and he pitied her as he held her hand tightly, silently encouraging her and comforting her. The nurse pushed Wuxia out of the examination room. Li Duobao and Bailey Yun immediately went up to him. Doctor, how is my mother? The doctor smiled. There are no internal injuries. The head injury will be fine after 2 days of rest. You can go to the ward to accompany the patient now. All right, thank you. Sorry to trouble you. Li Duobao was finally relieved. Bailey Yun helped Wuxia register for a VIP ward. After the nurse sent her to the ward, she gave a few instructions and left. Bailey Yun raised his hand to look at the time. There was still 10 minutes to 12. There was still time. Li Duobao saw his actions and hurriedly said, You've been on the plane for more than 10 hours. You must be very tired. Go back and rest early. His eyebrows curved. I'll accompany you here. Close your eyes. I have a gift for you. She was startled. Smiling, Gigai closed her eyes. Bailey Yun took out something from his suit pocket, reached out and moved it behind her neck, and said softly, "All right, you can open your eyes now." Li Duobao looked down at his neck. It was a beautiful platinum necklace, and the pendant was an exquisite key. This key was embedded with a few broken diamonds, and under the light, it shone brightly. "Look here." Bailey Yun's magnetic voice sounded in his ears. She looked up at him and saw that he was also wearing a necklace of the same style. The difference was that his pendant was a small lock. His thin lips curled up slightly, his eyes were full of smiles, and he said affectionately, "Duobao, this love lock represents my loyalty to you. I'll give you the key, and I'll only allow you to open my heart." Li Duobao stared at him, pursing his lips and giggling. Bailey Yun caressed her hair lovingly. "Silly girl, after hearing such a wonderful confession, why aren't you moved to throw yourself into my arms?" The smile on her face became even wider as she blinked. "Close your eyes, I also have a gift for you." "All right." Bailey Yun Gigai closed his eyes. His long eyelashes covered his lower eyelids, curled up like a butterfly flapping its wings. His high nose bridge cast a perfect shadow under the soft light, and his sexy thin lips were raised high with a hint of playfulness. Li Duobao tiptoed and slowly approached him. The closer she got, the faster her heart beat. Like a dragonfly skimming the water, she quickly pecked his lips and shyly turned her back. The room was very quiet, and she could almost only hear her own heartbeat. She didn't dare to look back at him. Bailey Yun was already stunned. He touched his lips. He was very sure that she had kissed him just now. He was cheering in his heart. This was the first time she had taken the initiative to kiss him, and it was on his lips. A smile slowly appeared in his eyes. He wrapped his arms around her waist from behind and chuckled softly. "The gift is very good. I like it very much." Li Duobao's back was pressed against his chest, her cheeks flushed red. After a while, she stretched out a finger and gently poked his arm. She whispered, "I thought you wouldn't come back." Bailey Yun hugged her tightly and said in a deep voice, "I originally wanted to give you a surprise, but now, I'm glad that I came back in time." If he hadn't arrived in time, he was really afraid that she would have been hurt. "Thank you." She said these two words heavily, her eyes slightly red. "Silly girl, there's no need for those two words between us." He kissed her hair and said softly, "What do you plan to do? Do you want to call the police?" She glanced at her unconscious mother and shook her head. "I don't know. I want to wait for my mother to wake up before I make any plans." If her mother still loved that man and didn't want her to call the police, then she would follow her mother's wishes. "You're so silly. That kind of man should be taught a lesson." Bailey Yun hugged the little woman in his arms even tighter, and felt even more sorry for her for thinking about her mother. "My mother has done a lot for me. I want her to be happy." Bailey Yun felt that it was unfair, but now that she's been hurt like this by that man, who knows if she'll be hurt again in the future. "I think we should make a prompt decision to leave that man." Li Duobao patted the back of his hand comfortingly. "All right, why are you even angrier than me? Mom will wake up tomorrow. We'll make plans then. Be good." He weakly rubbed her hair. "All right, I'll listen to you, little fool." "I'm not stupid." She turned around and protested with her eyes wide open. All right. You're not stupid. You're just a little dumb." Bailey Yun patted her head and smiled mischievously. Li Duobao said, "Ah Yun, you should go home. I'll stay here alone." She pointed to the only accompanying bed. "Moreover, only one person can sleep here. It's fine if the two of us stay together." Bai Li Yun shrugged his shoulders indifferently. How could he be at ease leaving her here alone? She waved her hands. "That's not good. Are you worried that I'll do something to you?" His foxy eyes narrowed dangerously, as if he would teach her a lesson if she dared to nod her head. "Of course I believe that you won't do anything to me, but there's a difference between men and women. It's not appropriate for us to squeeze on the same bed." She emphasized the last three words, wanting him to realize the seriousness of the problem. He touched his chin and nodded. "All right then. I'll sleep on the sofa and you sleep on the bed. Actually, it's really not necessary. You can go home and rest comfortably." She actually didn't want to see him working so hard, but she was too embarrassed to say it out loud. "Shoo." He raised his index finger to her lips and chuckled. "Don't argue. I won't change my mind. Gigai, go to sleep. Li Duobao lay on her side on the bed and looked at Bei Liyun curled up on the sofa. She felt warm and comforted. In the morning, she woke up to a very low and soft conversation. When she opened her eyes, she saw her mother and Bei Liyun huddled together and talking in a low voice. She quickly turned over and sat up. Mom, how are you? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Mom is very good. Wuxia smiled and waved at her. Bao, come here. Li Duobao replied with an oh, quickly put on her shoes and ran to the bedside. Bei Liyun made room for her and sat on the chair next to her. Mom, she looked at Bei Liyun apologetically. This is my friend. Bei Liyun's face darkened. Friend? Was he such an unpresentable boyfriend? Attention, Song Shu 566. Chapter 400. Bei Liyun's face darkened. Friend? Was he such an unpresentable boyfriend? Wuxia was stunned for a moment, then suddenly laughed. Bauer, you're still hiding it from me. I know Ayun is your boyfriend. Li Duobao's eyes widened. Her gaze moved back and forth between Bei Liyun and Wuxia. In the end, it stopped at Bei Liyun. You told my mom? Bei Liyun raised his chin proudly, obviously dissatisfied with her introduction just now. However, in front of Wuxia, he did not flare up, and his tone sounded extremely gentle. And I've already told Aunt. Duobao, don't worry. Aunt supports us very much. That's right. This is a good thing. Bauer, why did you hide it from me? Wuxia patted the back of Li Duobao's hand in rebuke. She laughed dryly. Well, I don't think the time is right, so I hid it from you for the time being. Wuxia rolled her eyes at her. The time is not right? Don't tell me you're waiting until you're about to get married to tell me? No. Li Duobao hugged her arm and acted coquettishly. All right, I'll tell you the truth. Actually, I'm worried that you won't agree to us being together. Why wouldn't I agree? Ayun is a good person, has a good appearance, and treats you well. I can't be happier. Wuxia smiled from ear to ear. She really treated Bei Liyun as her son-in-law, and the more she looked at him, the more she liked him. Li Duobao looked at Bei Liyun with admiration. He was too amazing to actually make his mother stand on his side in such a short period of time. Bei Liyun proudly brushed the hair on his forehead and gave her a look that said, I'm amazing. She nodded heavily to show her affirmation and admiration for him. The corner of his mouth rose high as he stood up confidently and smiled. Auntie, you and Duobao must be hungry. I'll go out and buy breakfast. What do you want to eat? Wuxia laughed and said, anything is fine. Bauer, you go with Ayun. Bei Liyun laughed. No need, Auntie, let Duobao stay with you. I'll be back soon. If you need anything else, let Duobao call me. I'll bring it back. All right. Wuxia smiled until her eyes narrowed into slits. She secretly pinched Duobao's waist, indicating for her to send him off. Li Duobao puffed his cheeks, sent Bei Liyun, and asked curiously, what did you say to my mother? She seems to like you. Bei Liyun knocked on her forehead and snorted, let's not talk about this first. You actually refused to introduce my boyfriend to your mother. Li Duobao covered his forehead in grievance. I was really worried that Mom wouldn't accept you. His face darkened. Do you think that my background and my past are a disgrace? Do you think your mother would care? No, of course not. That's not what I'm worried about. Li Duobao explained anxiously. My mother has always said that she wants me to marry an ordinary and honest man, but you come from a rich family and are the CEO of a big company. Furthermore, we are separated by 2 different places, so I'm worried that she won't agree. I originally planned to wait for you to return to the country and settle down before telling my mother. Bai Liyun stared at her without saying a word. She was so anxious that she was about to cry. She pulled his arm and shook it. Really, I'm telling the truth. You have to believe me. A smile appeared in his eyes as he held her hand. His voice was gentle. Am I very outstanding? She quickly nodded. In my eyes, you are the most outstanding. So, do you believe what I said? Little fool. Bei Liyun pulled her into his arms and hugged her tightly. You are the silliest little fool I have ever seen, my little fool. Li Duobao laughed through her tears. She was both angry and amused as she punched his back. I'm a fool, you're a fool. We are a match made in heaven. Yes, we are a match made in heaven. Bailey Yun kissed her forehead and reluctantly let go of her. Go in and accompany your mother. I'll be back soon. Okay? She waved at him and smiled sweetly. Li Duobao pushed the door open and walked into the ward. Wuxia stared at her with a smile, causing her to blush. Mom, don't look at me like that. My daughter has finally grown up and is in love. Wuxia pulled her to sit beside her and wiped her eyes. Mom wants to laugh, but also wants to cry. Bauer, Mom can't bear to part with you. Mom, don't be like this. I'm not getting married. I'm still by your side. Li Duobao hugged her shoulders and comforted her. Yeah, look at me. I'm old and muddle-headed. Wuxia smiled sadly. Li Duobao leaned her head on her shoulder. Mom, I thought you wouldn't accept a Yun. Wuxia thought of the first scene she saw when she woke up and laughed. The first time I saw him, I felt that this child was not bad. He was good to my daughter, so I can hand you over to him without worry. Li Duobao mischievously blinked. No way, you just looked at him and made such a big decision? Wuxia patted the back of her hand and laughed. When I woke up, I just happened to see a Yun sitting up from the sofa. I was still puzzled at that time, thinking, who is this? I don't know him either. I was just about to call him, but I didn't expect him to quietly walk to your bedside, put your exposed hand under the blanket, and even pinch the corner of the blanket for you. Li Duobao's lips curled up. Wuxia continued. Later, when he found out that I was awake, he politely greeted me and asked me if I was feeling unwell. When he spoke, his voice was also very low. He didn't want to wake you up. As she said that, she shook Li Duobao's hand hard. I saw how considerate he was to you. Even if he didn't say it, I could guess your relationship. Li Duobao hesitated for a moment and asked, Mom, if a Yun's family background is very good, will you oppose us? Wuxia said earnestly, in the past, Mother wanted you to marry someone of equal status because she didn't want you to be wronged. But now, Mother has thought it through, whether it's a poor or rich family, there can be conflicts. The most important thing is whether the man you marry truly loves you. If he truly loves you, even if there are mountains of blades and seas of fire in front of you, you can cross them. Mom can see that a Yun really likes you. I support you. Mom, thank you. Li Duobao was moved and threw himself into her arms. The mother and daughter leaned against each other and talked for a while. Wuxia hesitated for a while and asked, Bauer, is your father okay? Li Duobao's body stiffened and his tone was not very good. He's fine, Mom. He hit you last night. Aren't you angry? Wuxia sighed. Your father is like this when he's drunk. I'm already used to it. Li Duobao bit his lips and struggled for a long time. There were some words that he could not say. Do you still want to forgive him? Wuxia's expression dimmed. So what if I don't forgive him? We're already an old couple, and the children are already grown up. Li Duobao said anxiously. But he hurt you so badly this time. Who knows what he will do next time? Wuxia was silent for a while, then said indifferently, maybe he knows his mistake this time and won't do it again. He didn't know if these words were to comfort his daughter or himself. Li Duobao pursed his lips and was about to say something when his phone suddenly rang. Looking at the caller ID, it was Xian. Xian's anxious voice was heard. Sis, is Mom hurt? How is she now? Xian, don't worry. Mom is fine now. That's good. Xian paused and said, Sis, are you really going to call the police and send Dad to jail? I'm not sure yet. Sis, please, don't call the police. Dad is muddle-headed when he's drunk. He just accidentally hurt Mom. Can you and Mom forgive him this time? Li Duobao was a little angry and his tone was urgent. Xian, do you know how dangerous Mom's situation was at that time? He actually hit Mom's head with a beer bottle. What if he uses a kitchen knife next time? Sis, Dad has already sworn to me. He said that he will never drink again. He will definitely stop drinking. Let's trust him one more time, okay? I'm begging you, sis. I don't want Mom and Dad to get a divorce, and I don't want to see Dad go to jail. Sis, I'm begging you. Li Duobao's nose twitched, and tears uncontrollably flowed out of her eyes. She bit her lips tightly and controlled her emotions. Sis, I'm begging you. Don't call the police. When I graduate, I will go back to a city to take care of Mom and protect her. Sis, don't separate our family. Let us be together forever, okay? Tears rolled down her face. The scene of Xiao Dai slapping himself and begging for her forgiveness appeared in her mind. Her mother's words still echoed in her ears. She struggled for a long time in her heart, and finally choked out a word. Okay. That's great. Thank you. Sis, I want to say a few words to Mom. Li Duobao wiped her tears and handed the phone to Wuxia. She forced a smile and said, Mom, it's Xian. He wants to talk to you. Bailey Yun carried a large bag of things and walked out of the elevator. He saw Li Duobao sitting alone in the corridor with her head lowered, revealing half of her white neck. She looked lonely. He sat beside her and reached out to rub her hair. He chuckled and said, Little fool, why are you sitting here? Li Duobao still lowered her head and remained silent. Bai Li Yun felt that something was wrong and used his finger to lift her chin up. What he saw was a face covered in tears. That pair of beautiful eyes were filled with tears. She bit her red lips and cried so sadly that his heart suddenly ached. He hurriedly wiped away her tears. Bauer, what's wrong? She threw herself into his arms and cried until she was out of breath. She didn't even tell him what had happened. He was so anxious that he was about to die. He caressed her back to comfort her while wiping her tears. Bauer, be good. Don't cry anymore. Tell me what happened. Beauty novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 401. Li Duobao sobbed for a while and said intermittently, Xiao Dai is in the ward now, begging for my mother's forgiveness. He even brought out my brother, Xian, to plead for mercy for him. My mother and I have decided to forgive him, but I'm very uneasy. I'm really afraid that he'll hurt my mother again when he's drunk. Yesterday, she saw with her own eyes that Xiao Dai had beaten her mother with a beer bottle. He even wanted to humiliate her and say those words to her. At that time she was really terrified. Bailey Yun's expression changed slightly. He put his arm around her shoulder and whispered, Do your mother and brother know that you were bullied by Xiao Dai? She shook her head and choked. I've been hiding it from them. Bailey Yun frowned. Why didn't you tell them? I don't know how to tell them about this. Also, what if he's really just drunk and confused? Bai Liyun's eyes moved slightly. He looked thoughtfully at the closed door of the ward, patted her shoulder, and said, Duobao, don't worry. Leave this matter to me. Li Duobao looked at him in confusion. How do you want to deal with it? He curled his lips and said slowly, Follow your mother and Xian's opinions first. Trust Xiao Dai again. If you miss your mother, bring her to your little house and don't go home again. As for Xiao Dai, I'll send someone to monitor him. If he really has bad intentions, he'll show his tail one day. Li Duobao hesitated. Isn't that not good? If I bring my mother out, she'll definitely think that I have something against Xiao Dai. Little fool, this matter can be handled flexibly. You can choose to visit her when Xiao Dai isn't at home. He stared deeply into her eyes and said slowly, Duobao, I don't want you to get hurt. Promise me that you won't take any risks at any time. She nodded heavily. Okay, I got it. Good girl. He smiled and rubbed her hair. The door to the ward suddenly opened, and Xiao Dai walked out with red eyes. He gently closed the door and walked to Li Duobao. He said uneasily, Duobao, thank you for not telling your mother about how I hurt you. Thank you for forgiving me. Li Duobao turned her head and didn't look at him. She wanted to act cold, but she couldn't. She bit her lips and said, I hid that matter for the sake of my mother and Xian. You'd better remember your promise, stop drinking, and treat my mother well. Otherwise, I won't let you off. Okay, I know. I won't drink anymore. I won't do anything to hurt your mother and you. I promise. Xiao Dai quickly raised his palm and swore. Li Duobao ignored him and tugged at Bailey Yun's arm. Yun, let's go in and see Mom. All right. Bai Li Yun wrapped his arm around her waist. He didn't even look at Xiao Dai as he walked past him. Wuxia said that she was fine and insisted on being discharged from the hospital that day. Bailey Yun drove them home. Xiao Dai had been taking care of her and asking about her well-being. He even went to the market to buy fresh fish to make soup for her. Li Duobao saw this and gradually believed that he was truly repentant. Bailey Yun didn't let his guard down. He specially asked Bailey Han to lend him the Dragon Gang for a period of time. He sent people to follow and monitor Zhao Dai to prevent him from hurting Wuxia and Duobao again. Besides celebrating Duobao's birthday, Bailey Yun also had an important purpose for returning to the country. In the car, Li Duobao looked at the unfamiliar scenery outside the window and asked curiously, "Where are you taking me?" He turned to look at her and smiled. "Although it's not very formal, I've already visited your mother, so this time I'm taking you to visit my mother." "No way, why didn't you say so earlier?" Li Duobao quickly took out a makeup mirror from her handbag and checked her makeup and outfit. "Is it okay for me to dress like this? What does Auntie like? What gifts should we bring? Also, what kind of girl does she like? Will she think I'm not beautiful enough?" Bailey Yun was amused by her repeated questions and laughed. "Duobao, why are you so nervous? Although my mother is a bit long-winded, she definitely won't object to the girl I like. Don't worry." "Really? Then what gifts should we bring?" "I'm ready. You don't have to worry." He smiled comfortingly. "You just have to be yourself. My mother will definitely like you." Li Duobao muttered softly, "But I'm still worried." This was her first time in a relationship and her first time visiting her boyfriend's mother. Of course, she was worried that she wouldn't be liked. "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." Bailey Yun rubbed her hair and smiled dotingly. Lu Xiaoxiao lived in the villa area in the north of the city. This was the villa that Bailey Xiong had bought for her. In the past, Bailey Xiong would stay with her for 2 days every month, but after this year's spring festival, Bailey Xiong had never visited again. Before Bailey Yun returned to the country, he had already mentioned to Lu Xiaoxiao that he would bring his girlfriend to visit. So early in the morning, she got the servants to start preparing and tidying up the villa. She also changed into her favorite clothes, pushed away all the card games and dinner parties, and sat at home to wait. The red sports car slowly drove into the front yard. Bailey Yun opened the car door and got out of the car while holding Li Duobao's hand. His other hand was holding a large bouquet of perfumed lilies. 2 servants ran to the door with smiles on their faces. "Young master, you're back. Madam has been waiting for you for a long time." Bailey Yun smiled and nodded. "Mother Wu, Mother Li, this is Li Duobao, my girlfriend." The 2 servants quickly bowed and greeted. "Hello, Miss Li." Li Duobao smiled shyly. "Hello. Young master, Miss Li, please come in. Madam has been waiting for you in the living room for a long time." Bailey Yun held Li Duobao's hand and followed the servants into the living room. On the sofa sat a beautiful lady. She wore a dark red cheongsam and a white shawl. Her facial features were exquisite, and her skin was fair. There were no traces of age on her. Her pair of noble phoenix eyes were slightly raised, and her every frown and smile was filled with charm. Li Duobao finally understood where Bailey Yun's beauty came from. "Mom, this is Duobao, my girlfriend. Duobao, this is my mom." Bailey Yun stretched out his arm elegantly and introduced them to each other with a smile. Li Duobao bowed graciously and smiled sweetly. "Hello, Auntie." Lu Xiaoxiao's lips curled into a smile as she sized up Li Duobao without batting an eyelid. She slowly nodded her head. "Hello, Miss Li. Don't just stand there. Please take a seat. Mother Wu, serve tea." "Thank you." Li Duobao pursed her lips and smiled. She sat opposite Bailey Yun. Bailey Yun placed the perfume lily in front of Lu Xiaoxiao. "Mom, this is for you. Do you like it?" Lu Xiaoxiao was stunned. She smiled brightly and said, "I like it. I haven't received flowers for many years." This was the first time her son had sent her flowers. It was also the first time he had spoken to her in such a pleasant manner. "And this," Bailey Yun took out a small red velvet box from his pocket. "This is for you. Open it and take a look." "Miss Li, why are you so polite?" The smile on Lu Xiaoxiao's face widened. She took the box and opened it. Her eyes were immediately filled with amazement. This is too beautiful." Inside the box was a butterfly-shaped diamond brooch. She didn't know what mechanism it was, but after she opened the box, the butterfly's wings actually fluttered, and the diamonds on it reflected a bright light under the sun. "Miss Li, you're too polite. How can I accept such an expensive gift?" Lu Xiaoxiao was used to seeing jewelry. She knew that this brooch was expensive. Her charming phoenix eyes were full of smiles. Although she refused, she was very happy in her heart. Li Duobao glanced at the brooch and then at Bailey Yun, who was smiling. She couldn't help but say, "Actually, that brooch isn't mine." Bailey Yun interrupted her and said with a smile, "Mom, Duobao heard me mention that you like butterflies, so she specially chose this butterfly brooch for you. This is her kindness. You don't have to be polite." Li Duobao's lips moved. She wanted to say something, but Bailey Yun secretly held her hand. "I see. Duobao, you're really considerate. Since that's the case, I'll accept it." Lu Xiaoxiao naturally changed the way she addressed Li Duobao. She smiled from ear to ear and seemed to be very satisfied with her. At first, Li Duobao was still a little uneasy. She was a little restrained when facing Lu Xiaoxiao. However, Lu Xiaoxiao was very good at livening up the atmosphere. She talked about Bailey Yun's childhood and aroused Li Duobao's curiosity. The two of them sat side by side and looked at his childhood photos, laughing happily from time to time. The corners of Bailey Yun's lips curled up. He went behind them and pointed at the little baby in the picture in a flowery dress. He asked in surprise, "Mom, who is this little girl?" Lu Xiaoxiao and Li Duobao burst into laughter at the same time. Lu Xiaoxiao laughed until tears were about to flow out of her eyes. She pointed at the little baby and said, "Duobao, look. Yun doesn't remember what happened when he was young at all." That's right. He didn't even recognize that the little girl in the dress is himself. Duobao laughed softly on Lu Xiaoxiao's arm. Bailey Yun was speechless. He took the photo album from their hands and said in disbelief, "This is me." Lu Xiaoxiao and Li Duobao nodded in unison. "It's you." Lu Xiaoxiao said, "When you were young, you looked like a little girl. You were tender and tender, so I dressed you up as a girl. After I carried you out, no one recognized that you were a boy." She laughed as she spoke, as if she was very proud of her actions. The corner of Bailey Yun's mouth twitched. This kind of photo must be destroyed. He didn't want that kind of embarrassing photo to be left in the world. Come and see. Hongcha 866. Chapter 402. Don't. I think it's very cute and interesting. Auntie, can you give this photo to me? Li Duobao blinked his big watery eyes and asked pitifully. Of course you can. Duobao, take this photo. If Yun bullies you in the future, use this photo to threaten him. Lu Xiaoxiao generously took out the photo from the album and handed it over to Li Duobao. Li Duobao chuckled. Auntie, you're right. I will definitely keep it well. Hey, the two of you are teaming up to bully me now. Why is my life so miserable? Bai Li Yun purposely acted as if he was holding his heart. His face even revealed a heartbroken expression. Unfortunately, his smiling eyes betrayed his current mood. It's useless to act cute and spoiled. I will definitely keep it well. Li Duobao naughtily wrinkled his nose at him, hugged the photo and kissed it. Then, he put it into his handbag like a treasure. Duobao, you're too heartless. I'm your boyfriend. Can't you let me have my way? Bailey Yun reached out and pressed his head. Lu Xiaoxiao watched them tease each other, and her eyes were filled with smiles. After lunch, Bailey Yun accompanied Li Duobao for a stroll in the garden. Lu Xiaoxiao sent a servant to call him to the study room. Bai Li Yun walked into the study and saw Lu Xiaoxiao standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. From this angle, he could see the situation in the garden. He walked to her side and looked out. Duobao was squatting on the lawn and playing with the pet dog. The man and the dog were playing happily. Lu Xiaoxiao turned to look at him and smiled. This girl is not bad. Bailey Yun crossed his arms and smiled lazily. You won't object to us, right? Lu Xiaoxiao laughed at herself. Do you care about my opinion? All these years, when have you ever listened to me? Bailey Yun shrugged casually. You are my mother. No matter what, I still hope to get your approval. Lu Xiaoxiao's exquisite face revealed a touch of sadness. Yun, are you still unwilling to forgive me? Bailey Yun's lips curled into a faint smile. Mom, let bygones be bygones. Don't mention it again. Mom, there's something I've wanted to tell you for a long time, but I was too embarrassed to say it. As your son, I also hope that you can be happy. Yun. Lu Xiaoxiao was slightly startled. A layer of mist quickly appeared in her phoenix eyes. Her fingertips trembled as they landed on his handsome face. Mom is very happy, very happy. Bailey Yun held her hand on his cheek and said slowly, Mom, leave Bailey Xiong and start your life afresh. Her long eyelashes fluttered, and tears fell from her eyes. Okay. Bailey Yun hugged her and said in a low voice, Mom, your son can support you now. You don't have to live a life of dependence anymore. Mom knows, Mom knows. Lu Xiaoxiao nodded with tears streaming down her face. For the sake of money, she became the third party that everyone despised. She also made her son an inferior illegitimate son. In fact, she understood that her son was cold to her because he didn't want her to continue on that path. However, she had long fallen in love with that man. She fantasized that one day she would enter the house and go from being the third party to being the legal wife. However, Bailey Xiong had already lost interest in her. He hadn't come to see her for more than half a year. It was time for her to cut off all ties with him. After a long while, Lu Xiaoxiao wiped her tears and glanced at Li Duobao, who was still playing with the puppy. She smiled. Ah Yun, you bought that butterfly brooch, right? Bailey Yun raised his eyebrows and said in a light tone, You saw through it? Lu Xiaoxiao looked at him coquettishly. Do you think Mom is blind? I saw Duobao's hesitant look. Bailey Yun touched his nose in embarrassment. Why didn't you expose him in front of everyone? This isn't like you. Lu Xiaoxiao poked his forehead with her finger and scolded jokingly. My son wants to act with Mom. What else can Mom do? Of course, she will continue acting according to your wishes. Bailey Yun's lips curled up and he quickly said, Thank you, Mom. Lu Xiaoxiao patted his arm and smiled with relief. Ah Yun, Mom is really happy to see you like this. Duobao is a good girl. Cherish her. Mom wishes you both happiness. Bailey Yun's eyebrows curved. We will. At around 4 in the afternoon, Bailey Yun left with Li Duobao. Lu Xiaoxiao stood at the gate and waved her hand. She watched their car drive away until she couldn't see the shadow of the car anymore. Then, she turned around and returned to the villa. There was a hint of loneliness in her eyes. In the car, Li Duobao pouted. Why did you lie? You bought the brooch for Auntie. Bailey Yun smiled. Originally, I wanted to give you more points in front of my mother. I didn't expect her to know that I bought the brooch. Li Duobao's eyes widened. Then does she hate me? Silly, how is that possible? My mother said that she likes you very much and that you are a good girl. She told me to cherish you. Here, that's a gift from my mother. Open it and take a look. Bailey Yun gestured for her to open the storage box. Inside was a red velvet box. Inside the box was a jade bracelet. It was dark green and as gentle as water. It was obviously not an ordinary item. Li Duobao held the box as if it was a hot potato. She felt very uncomfortable. She went to visit her elders and didn't give them any gifts. Instead, she received such a precious gift. Bailey Yun looked at her and chuckled. My mother said that this was given to her by my grandmother. It is our family's heirloom. She has officially passed it to you. When we have a daughter in the future, you will pass it to our daughter. This was tantamount to admitting her identity. She stroked the jade bracelet. Her heart was filled with joy. Because of his blunt words, she was a little shy. Her delicate face was tinged with a faint blush. She said softly, Thank your mother for me. I will definitely take good care of this bracelet. Okay, I will tell her. She will definitely be very happy. Duobao, my grandmother, brother, and sister-in-law all know about us. When will you meet them? Okay. Li Duobao hesitated for a moment and asked, Does Xiaobao know? Will he oppose us? Bailey Yun raised his eyebrows in amusement. Guess? She pouted. How can I guess? Don't keep me in suspense. Xiaobao didn't agree or disagree. He said that he wants to meet you. Let's go see him now. Bailey Yun calculated the time. If they rushed to the kindergarten now, they would be just in time to pick up Xiaobao from school. Outside the kindergarten, Bailey Yun saw Xiaodong's car. He led Li Duobao to her car and bent down to knock on Xiaodong's car window. Xiaodong opened the car door and got out. She smiled and said, Ah Yun, this is your family's duobao, right? Hello. Duobao. I am Ah Yun's sister-in-law, Xia Dong. Li Duobao blushed and quickly held Xia Dong's outstretched hand. Hello, Mrs. Bailey. Xia Dong joked. Duobao, don't be so polite. Just call me Xia Dong. Or, you can be like Ah Yun and call me sister-in-law. Li Duobao's cheeks turned even redder. He was as adorable as a red apple. Even Xia Dong had the urge to go up and touch him. Bailey Yun put his arm around Li Duobao's shoulder and teased him. When did I call you sister-in-law? Don't be so bold. What if you scare my family's duobao? Xia Dong burst out laughing. Ah Yun, do you know that you look a little like Daodu now? Bailey Yun's smile froze and his face darkened. He gritted his teeth and said, we haven't seen each other for so long. Can't you say something nice? Like Daodu, that big dog? How could that be? Xia Dong's eyes were full of mischievous laughter. Let me finish. You look like Daodu protecting his food. You have a strong sense of possessiveness. This is good. This is really good. I'm praising you. Bailey Yun glared at her in annoyance. Forget it, I won't argue with you. Who asked you to be my sister-in-law? It's not like I'll lose a piece of meat from being ridiculed by you. Oh, you finally have some awareness of respecting the old and loving the young. Congratulations. Xia Dong stopped teasing him and looked at Li Duobao, saying, Duobao, I heard that you're a flight attendant. Is your work very hard? Although Li Duobao knew that Bailey Yun had once loved Xia Dong, she did not have the slightest bit of hostility towards her. Instead, she was attracted by the mature and wise charm that she exuded. From the bottom of her heart, she felt that Xia Dong was a great woman. When interacting with her, Li Duobao no longer felt any pressure and was able to be himself. She smiled mischievously. Actually, it's not bad. Every time we fly, we can rest for 2 days. However, during peak periods, our flying missions are more important. Sometimes, we have to go to work during the Spring Festival, so we can't reunite with our family. Xia Dong's tone was full of admiration. You're so awesome. When I first took a plane, I was scared to death. But you guys flew all over the world. So cool. Li Duobao snickered. Let me tell you a secret. Actually, when I first flew, I was also very scared. I was almost rejected by the airline. The two women gathered together and chatted happily. They did not have the sense of restraint that strangers should have. Instead, they left Bailey Yun hanging at the side. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. After the kindergarten was over, little Wingzi and his siblings walked over leisurely. Second uncle, Xiao Yi and Xiao Guai were very excited to see Bailey Yun. They hugged his legs on each side. Xiao Bao was extremely calm. She calmly called out, Daddy. Then, she raised her little head and stared at Li Duobao with her big eyes. Li Duobao laughed foolishly and waved his hand in greeting. Xiao Bao, long time no see. Xiao Bao puffed up her cheeks and said calmly, I can't call you big sister anymore. Li Duobao smiled awkwardly. Yeah. Bailey Yun let go of Xiao Yi and Xiao Guai. He rubbed his son's head and smiled kindly. Good son, call me Auntie Duobao from now on. Xiao Bao ignored him and continued to stare at Li Duobao. She asked seriously, will you abuse me in the future? TV dramas say that stepmothers abuse their children. Beauty novel, Hong Cha 866. Chapter 403. Xiao Bao ignored him and continued to stare at Li Duobao. She asked seriously, will you mistreat me in the future? TV shows say that stepmothers mistreat their children. This little guy was so direct. Bailey Yun and Xia Dong's lips twitched at the same time. Li Duobao squatted down and looked at him at eye level. There was a bright smile on her round apple-like face. Xiao Bao, I like you a lot. Why would I mistreat you? Xiao Bao asked seriously. Really? She nodded heavily. Of course. He shrugged his little shoulders. Oh, then I'll allow you to be my stepmother. Thank you. She grinned, revealing her cute little white teeth. Her beautiful big eyes turned, and she suddenly puffed up her cheeks and asked, Xiao Bao, will you bully me? TV shows say that children don't like stepmothers, so they bully them on purpose. Xiao Bao patted her shoulder maturely and said seriously, Duobao, you have to look at the other party's IQ when you bully them. If the other party can't fight back, you won't feel good bullying them. So, I don't have to bully you at all. Li Duobao was startled. She said angrily, "Are you looking down on my IQ?" Xiao Bao's lips curled. "Basically, you can assume that's what I mean." "Wow, you're so despicable. I'm going to punish you." She blew air on her palms and then scratched his armpits with both hands to tickle him. Xiao Bao was the most ticklish. She giggled and moved her little body. She said intermittently, "Stop tickling. If you tickle me again, I'll get angry. I'll really get angry." "Okay, I won't tickle you anymore. Call me Auntie Duobao and I'll let you go." Li Duobao squinted her eyes and smiled. Her expression was a little like a wolf grandmother who was trying to kidnap a child. Bao. Ah. Auntie. Xiao Bao said each word clearly and rolled her eyes impatiently. "Can you let go of me now? Xiao Bao, you're the best. I love you so much." Li Duobao was so touched that tears welled up in his eyes. He hugged Xiao Bao and kissed him on the cheek. Xiao Bao wiped his face in disgust. "Don't kiss me. If you want to kiss me, kiss my daddy." Women was so troublesome. When they were happy, they liked to hug him and kiss him fiercely. Li Duobao's face turned red, and his eyes widened. He deliberately put on a straight face and said, "You're just a child. Don't talk nonsense in the future. Don't you feel ashamed?" Xiao Bao mumbled, "I'm not the one who's embarrassed." Someone's blushing. Li Duobao's face turned even redder. In terms of bickering, even 10 Li Duobaos couldn't beat Xiao Bao. Bailey Yun couldn't bear to watch any longer. He walked forward to help her out. He rubbed Xiao Bao's hair and grinned. "Son, Daddy will take you 3 out for dinner today. What do you want to eat?" The 3 little guys expressed their opinions one after another. KFC. McDonald's. Seafood. Bailey Yun touched his chin. In the end, he agreed with Xiao Yi's opinion. "Let's go and eat seafood." Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai were dissatisfied. They pouted and shouted, "Why?" "Because KFC and McDonald's are junk food. It's not good for children to eat too much. Let's go and eat seafood. There are fragrant spicy prawns and spicy crabs. There's also delicious grilled fish. Oh, there's also delicious Crucian carp soup. Whoever wants to go, quickly raise your hand and sign up." Me. The 3 of them raised their hands in unison. "Okay, get in the car and fasten your seatbelts." Bailey Yun patted their little heads one by one and stuffed them into his sports car. He put his hands in his trouser pockets and grinned at Xia Dong. "Do you want to go together?" Xia Dong waved her hand exaggeratedly. "No, I don't want to disturb your date. Duobao, goodbye. It was nice to meet you." "Me too." "Goodbye, Xia Dong." Li Duobao smiled and waved her hand. The children lowered the glass window and stuck out their little heads to wave goodbye to their mommy. Li Duobao's personality was cheerful and lively. She was full of childishness, so it was easy for her to get along with the children. They all liked her very much. Xiao Guai even called her little aunt, very intimately. Although she was so shy that her face turned red, her heart was happy. After the little guys returned home, they kept praising Li Duobao in front of their elders. Of course, this was Bailey Yun's strategy. He wanted the family to have a good impression of Li Duobao before they met her. What he didn't expect was that Xia Dong also spoke up for Duobao. In front of the old madam and Bailey Xiong, she praised Duobao for being kind and pure. How could the old madam not see through their tricks? She just pretended not to know and said with a smile, "Ah Yun, you didn't disappoint Grandma and got Duobao. Since that's the case, why don't you bring her back and let us meet her?" Bailey Yun smiled calmly. "Grandma, in order for all of you to accept her, I have to do a good job of laying the groundwork." The old madam waved her hand in amusement. "All right, what's the point of laying the groundwork? Find some time and arrange for us to meet Duobao. Since Duobao is willing to accept a worrisome guy like you, we can't wait to burn incense to thank her. Why would we make things difficult for her?" Bailey Yun cried out exaggeratedly, "No way, Grandma. In your heart, am I that unlikable?" The old madam looked him up and down and nodded seriously. "You're just too likable. That's why we're worried. Duobao can be considered to have gotten rid of evil for the people." Ha ha ha. The three little guys burst into laughter. Xiao Bao repeated that phrase over and over again. Getting rid of evil for the people. Great grandma, you described it so well. They could joke without restraint and expose their ugliest side without worrying about being despised. They could rely on each other when they were helpless and unite in the face of difficulties. This was family. Ever since the fight for Xiao Bao's custody, Bailey Yun had gradually understood the bond between family members. In the face of his family's jokes, he didn't get angry. Instead, he felt happy because they really treated him as a family. In June, Bailey Yun returned from the United States and arranged for his family to meet Li Duobao. Li Duobao wore a snow-white knee-length silk dress. Her silk-like hair casually draped over her bare shoulders. She looked fresh and natural. On her round cheeks, there was a bright smile. 2 cute dimples bloomed on her lips. Her beautiful big eyes were watery and full of spirit. She was prepared this time and specially prepared a gift for everyone. She gave the old madam a handkerchief hand-embroidered in Suzhou, an embroidered shawl for Bai Jinxiu, an inkstone for Bailey Xiong, a gold pen for Bailey Han, a beautiful vase for Xia Dong, and toys for the children. The gifts weren't expensive, but they were all very considerate because she had carefully inquired about their family's preferences from Bailey Yun. For example, the old madam liked to use handkerchiefs, Bailey Xiong liked to use embroidery, and so on. The old madam liked Li Duobao at first sight. She had a pure smile and was polite to people. She didn't talk like those who pretended to be polite. She had a straightforward personality and knew how to be considerate. She was a rare good girl. Bailey Xiong was very optimistic about Li Duobao, but he was a little dissatisfied with her family background. However, he thought about it carefully. Yun turned over a new leaf, and it was also related to this girl. If he insisted on opposing, he might force his son back to his old ways, so he reluctantly agreed. As for Bai Jinxiu, firstly, she wasn't Bailey Yun's biological mother, so she didn't have much right to speak. Secondly, now that her husband had a harmonious relationship with her, she didn't want to cause conflict between husband and wife because of Bailey Yun, so she accepted Li Duobao graciously. When Bailey Han learned that Bailey Yun and Li Duobao were dating, he sent people to investigate Li Duobao. He knew that she was a simple and good girl. He wasn't worried that she would hurt Bailey Yun, but he was a little worried that Bailey Yun would bully her. However, this was between the two of them, so he couldn't be bothered to ask. The most important thing was that another one of his wife's secret admirers had been eliminated. It was really worth celebrating. The old madam said happily, Duobao, when will the parents of our two families get together to discuss your marriage? Li Duobao pursed her lips in embarrassment. Bailey Yun knew that she was thin-skinned, so he quickly said, Grandma, I'm developing my career in the United States now. Our marriage isn't in a hurry. We'll talk about it when I return to China. The old madam looked at him reproachfully. It's reasonable for our two families to meet. Otherwise, Duobao's parents will think that our family doesn't know how to be polite. Li Duobao smiled and said, Sure, Grandma. My mother heard Yun mention you before. She said that she admired you very much and wanted to meet you. The old madam asked curiously, Yun mentioned me in front of your mother? What did she say about me? She didn't scold me, did she? Li Duobao's eyes curved. How could that be? Yun mentioned that you used to go to the battlefield with Grandpa. My mother said that you're the modern Mu Guiying, and she especially admires you. The old madam teased. Oh, Duobao, I didn't know that your little mouth was so good at praising people. Grandma's tail is wagging from your praise. Li Duobao blinked mischievously. I didn't praise you. My mother praised you. The old madam laughed heartily, and the atmosphere at the dinner table was warm and warm. Bailey Yun picked up Li Duobao's favorite dish. Suddenly, his phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and saw that it was Bao. He smiled and said to everyone, I'm going to take a call. Then, he quickly walked out of the private room. Bao, what's the matter? Second young master. Ahu and I just saw Zhao Dai walking into a hotel with a woman in his arms. Bailey Yun's gaze turned cold. Zhao Dai, you're finally showing your foxtail. His lips curled into a cold smile, and he said in a deep voice, Bao, take a photo of them and find out who that woman is. Okay, I understand. Bailey Yun returned from the phone call. His expression didn't change as he chuckled and talked about interesting things to adjust the atmosphere at the table. After dinner, everyone gathered and chatted for a while before dispersing. Come and see. Hongcha 866. Chapter 404. Li Duobao flipped through the photos in her hands. Every time she looked at one, her heart ached. That man, how could he treat her mother like this? How could he be so cruel to her? After looking at the last photo, her tears fell uncontrollably. She bit her lips tightly, and the knuckles of her fingers that were holding the photo turned slightly white. Baby, don't be sad. It's a good thing to see that bastard's true colors earlier. Bailey Yun knelt on one knee in front of her and used a tissue to gently wipe the tears on her face. She nodded with tears in her eyes. Her heart was still in pain. She felt bad for her mother. Why was her mother's life so bitter? Her first husband had died early, and her second husband had cheated on her. The next day, Zhao Dai had to discuss business with someone and was not at home. Li Duobao took the photo home and planned to explain it to her mother. Bailey Yun was worried that Zhao Dai's sudden return would hurt the mother and daughter, so he suggested to accompany her. She felt that it was not appropriate, and it would also embarrass her mother, so he could only change his mind and let Bao and Ahu monitor them downstairs. Once Zhao Dai returned home and had a conflict with the mother and daughter, they would rush up to protect them. Wuxia saw that Li Duobao had returned and was very happy. She immediately asked her about her meeting with Bailey Yun's family last night. Li Duobao smiled. It's pretty good. They are all very supportive of us. Grandma even said that she wants to meet you. That's good, that's good. Wuxia's face was full of smiles. She had been worried that Bailey's family would look down on their small family, but she did not expect them to respect them so much. She could finally relax. Li Duobao looked at her mother's happy expression and touched the photo in her handbag. She did not know how to speak to her. After hesitating for a long time, she said tentatively, Mom, I think it's quite difficult for two people to be loyal to each other for the rest of their lives after marriage. Wuxia was shocked and hurriedly asked, What's wrong? Did a Yun do something to let you down? No, that's not it. Mom, don't misunderstand. I was just saying it casually. Li Duobao hurriedly shook her head. She really didn't know how to speak. She didn't pull the topic to her stepfather, but instead caused her mother to misunderstand a Yun. Wuxia patted her chest and looked at her reproachfully. You child, you scared me to death. You suddenly exclaimed about this. I thought something had happened between the two of you. Li Duobao shook his head gloomily. No. Wuxia looked at her carefully and frowned. Bauer, do you have something on your mind? You've been acting strange ever since you entered the room. She was the one who raised her daughter, so she knew her daughter's character better than anyone else. She had always revealed her emotions, and the only thing missing was the words, I have something on my mind, written all over her face. Li Duobao gritted his teeth and decided to cut the Gordian knot. Finally, he asked tentatively, Mom, if Uncle Zhao were to find another woman behind your back, what would you do? Ever since that incident, Li Duobao no longer called Zhao Dai Dad. Instead, he called him Uncle Zhao. Wuxia's body stiffened. She looked into her daughter's eyes, which were clearly surging with uneasiness and nervousness. She understood her daughter. If it wasn't for some news, her daughter wouldn't ask such a question. Wuxia's face quickly became ugly, her lips trembled, and she didn't say a word for a long time. She was a person who could share joys and sorrows, and could also resign herself to adversity, but she couldn't tolerate being betrayed by her husband. However, she wasn't alone. She still had Duobao and Xian. Even if she didn't think for herself, she had to think for the children. Mom, Li Duobao saw that she was so sad, and he forgot all about cutting the Gordian knot. He held her arm worriedly and said anxiously, Mom, don't think too much. I was just asking casually. Uncle Zhao didn't do anything to let you down. Wuxia slowly reached out and stroked her hair. She pulled the corner of her lips sadly. Duobao, you've never been good at lying since you were young. Every time you lie, you subconsciously look to the right. It's okay, Mom can take it. Tell me the truth. The way she forced a smile was like a needle stabbing into Li Duobao's heart. Her nose burned, and she was afraid that her tears would fall. She quickly lowered her head and opened the zipper of her handbag. She took out the photos and slowly handed them to her. The photos were facing up, and the top one was Zhao Dai walking on the street with a woman in his arms. Wuxia trembled as she picked up the stack of photos and slowly flipped through them. There were only a few photos, but she flipped through them for nearly half an hour. She looked at them over and over again with a sense of self-abuse until Li Duobao couldn't bear to look at them anymore. He held her hand tightly and cried, "Mom, don't look at them anymore." Wuxia thought that she was strong enough, but when she saw her husband being intimate with another woman, she still couldn't control her heartache. Her eyes were so numb that she couldn't shed tears. She was like a puppet, staring blankly into the distance and calmly asking, "Who is that woman? How long have they been together?" Li Duobao bit his lips and tried his best to control his emotions. "It's one of Uncle Zhao's clients. They've been together for three years. 3 years, he had actually hidden it from her for 3 years. In these 3 years, every time he got drunk, he would scold her and occasionally hit her. Every time he woke up, he would beg for her forgiveness, and she actually foolishly forgave him. Even if he beat her until her head was bleeding, she wouldn't harden her heart and break up with him. She didn't expect that he had already had a mistress outside. Wang Xiaoguang thought about Zhao Dai crying and begging for her forgiveness and felt disgusted. This time, she really wanted to cut off all ties with him. Her numb gaze slowly turned to Li Duobao and she held her hand. "Bauer, if Mom wants to divorce him, what do you think?" Li Duobao nodded his head heavily, his eyes filled with certainty. "Mom, I support your divorce. Don't worry, I have some savings over the years. I will definitely take good care of you and Ah Xian." Wang Xia's lips slowly curled up into a smile as she stroked her daughter's hair. "Bao, with your words, Mom is enough." Li Duobao hugged her and said softly, "Mom, the earlier we go through the divorce procedures, the earlier we can be free. Ah Yun has already contacted a lawyer." Wang Xia sighed softly. "I still don't know if Ah Xian will agree. Furthermore, if I get a divorce, will it affect the Bailey's view of you? Mom, I beg you, please be selfish for once. Don't think about what others think and let yourself live happily, okay?" Li Duobao hugged her tightly with heartache. Wang Xia stroked her hair and said softly, "Okay." However, the worry between her brows did not dissipate. When Zhao Dai returned from outside, he bumped into Li Duobao and Wang Xia. Li Duobao was dragging a suitcase in his hand. When the mother and daughter saw him, they both had indifferent expressions. He did not understand what was going on and chuckled. "Ah Xia, Duobao, what are you doing? Why are you carrying a suitcase?" Wang Xia felt disgusted when she saw him. She took out a stack of photos and threw them at his face, saying coldly, "Zhao Dai, I know all the good things you've done. Let's get a divorce. From today onwards, I'll move to Duobao's place." The photos scattered on the ground like snowflakes. Zhao Dai and other women's intimate scenes were all exposed in the corridor. He stared at the photos in disbelief and shouted, "Ah Xia, listen to my explanation. This woman is just a client of mine. There's nothing between us really." "Pa!" A slap landed on Zhao Dai's face. Wang Xia slowly retracted her hand and looked at him with disdain. "Zhao Dai, if you're a man, you have to be responsible. If you don't even dare to admit what you've done, you'll only make me look down on you even more." Zhao Dai stared at her in a daze, as if he did not expect that the usually gentle woman would actually hit him. Wang Xia disdained to look at him again. She turned to Li Duobao and said, "Bauer, let's go." "No, Ah Xia, don't go. I won't agree to a divorce." Zhao Dai seemed to have woken up from a dream. He hurriedly grabbed Wang Xia's arm and pulled her away. "Let go, don't touch me. You're my wife. You can't go anywhere." Wang Xia struggled hard. Li Duobao threw down the suitcase and rushed forward to help. Zhao Dai raised his arm high. Just as it was about to land on Wang Xia's face, two black shadows suddenly flashed in the corridor. They moved quickly behind Zhao Dai and firmly grabbed his arm. With a shoulder throw, Zhao Dai was thrown into the corridor. Wang Xia reflexively protected Li Duobao behind her back. She was still in shock as she watched the two men who suddenly appeared punch and kick Zhao Dai. Zhao Dai screamed miserably and rolled around on the ground. Li Duobao hurriedly ran out from behind his mother and shouted, "Ah Bao, Ahu, stop fighting!" Ahu and Ah Bao stopped. They did not even look at the cowering Zhao Dai and turned to look at them. "Are you okay?" Li Duobao shook his head. "I'm fine." "Mom, are you okay?" Wang Xia forced a smile. "I'm fine. Thank you." You're welcome. Second young master told us to protect the two of you. Let's go downstairs. Ahu quickly walked forward and picked up the suitcase on the ground. Li Duobao held Wang Xia's arm and followed behind them. Wang Xia walked to the elevator and could not help but look back at Zhao Dai, who was groaning on the ground. A look of pity appeared in her eyes. Bao said, "Auntie, don't worry. We didn't hit his vitals. We just wanted to teach him a lesson." Wang Xia smiled awkwardly. Wang Xia had not thought of how to tell Xian about the divorce when he called back. His voice was very urgent. "Mom, are you really going to divorce Dad?" "Xian, did your dad tell you? I really can't live with your dad anymore. Forgive me for being selfish this time." "Mom, Dad said that there's really nothing between him and that woman." "You misunderstood. Please believe him this time." "Mom, I really don't want to become a child of a single-parent family. Mom, I'm begging you." Xian started sobbing on the phone. Ad. Hongcha 866. Chapter 405. Wang Xia's tears also fell. "Xian, don't be like this. This time, your father really hurt me badly. I can't forgive him. Mom, can you not be so selfish? Think about me and my sister. Sister finally has a boyfriend and even met his parents. If you and Dad get divorced, what will brother-in-law's family think of our family? Mom, let's talk about me. I'm about to prepare for the final exam. You don't want me to be distracted at this time, right? Moreover, I don't want to be laughed at by my classmates." Xian's words were like a heavy stone that tightly pressed down on Wang Xia's heart. She covered her mouth and suppressed her choking voice, allowing her tears to fall one by one. After ending the call, Wang Xia changed her mind. She decided not to divorce Zhao Dai for the time being. Although Li Duobao didn't know what Xian said to her on the phone, he was sure that Xian didn't agree to her parents' divorce, so he persuaded her, causing her to change her mind. "Mom, think about it again. If you forgive Zhao Dai for doing such a thing, he might go even further in the future." Li Duobao was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot. He tried his best to persuade his mother, but Wang Xia insisted on this decision and refused to let go. On this day, Wang Xia was sad and tired. Under Li Duobao's persuasion, she barely ate half a bowl of rice and went back to her room to rest early. After seeing her return to her room, Li Duobao walked to the balcony and dialed Xian's number. When the call connected, there was silence on both sides. Li Duobao pursed his lips and said in a low voice, "Xian, you don't agree with your parents' divorce, do you?" Xian's rapid breathing came from the phone, as if he was trying hard to control his emotions. After not getting an answer for a long time, she called his name again. "Xian?" Xian suddenly exploded in anger. "Li Duobao, are you still Mom's biological daughter? Why did you persuade Mom and Dad to divorce? Dad already said that you deliberately got someone to take those photos. You just want them to divorce, right? You want Mom to be laughed at, don't you? Li Duobao, what kind of intentions do you have? You're going to marry into a rich family, so you're looking down on Dad, right?" His voice was so loud that even Bailey Yun, who was standing behind Li Duobao, heard it. After they met the parents of both parties, Li Duobao gave him a key to her house. When he opened the door and came in, he found Li Duobao standing on the balcony talking on the phone, so he quietly stood behind her. He wanted to give her a surprise, but he didn't expect to hear such a chilling question. He saw the frail shoulders of the little woman in front of him trembling slightly. He heard her say in a trembling voice, "Xian, how could you misunderstand me like this? It's a fact that Zhao Dai cheated, and it's also a fact that he betrayed Mother. I did all this for Mother's sake." Xian's roar came again. "I don't believe it. You're obviously looking down on Dad. Dad and Mom haven't divorced yet and you're calling Dad by his full name. Do you still have any respect for him?" Li Duobao's fingers that were holding the phone suddenly tightened. Just as she was about to say something, a hand suddenly appeared behind her and snatched her phone away. A figure suddenly appeared beside her. He was tall and straight, and his entire body was emitting a cold aura. It was Bailey Yun. She stared at him in a daze. Seeing him put the phone to his ear, his handsome face was expressionless as he said indifferently, "Zhao Xian, I'm Bailey Yun, your future brother-in-law. I have something to say to you." Xian was obviously still angry. He didn't even have a good expression towards Bei Li Yun. He said angrily, "If you have something to say, just say it." Bei Li Yun said indifferently, "You're already an adult. Don't be so willful like a child. Before you accuse others, you'd better get to the bottom of the matter. Otherwise, the words that come out of your mouth will be too hurtful." Xian was slightly startled. Yar flew into a rage. "Don't think that you can lecture me just because you're my sister's boyfriend. I know very well what the truth is." Bei Li Yun sneered. "Then tell me what the truth is." Xian said angrily, "It's my dad's fault for hitting my mom when he's drunk, but in the past month or so, he's already corrected himself. Why is sis still holding on to him and not letting him go? Why did she purposely create those photos to encourage mom to divorce dad?" Bei Li Yun's gaze turned cold. "Is this the so-called truth that Zhao Dai told you?" "That's right, I believe what my dad said." Bei Li Yun glanced at Li Duobao, who was biting his lips in grievance, and said in a deep voice, "Since you trust your dad so much, why don't you ask him what else he did besides cheating and drinking violence?" "What do you mean?" "Don't slander my dad." Xian's furious voice clearly reached Li Duobao's ears. She felt uneasy. She knew what Bei Li Yun wanted to say, so she quietly tugged at his sleeve and whispered, Yun, don't say it." Bei Li Yun put his arm around her shoulder, deliberately letting Xian hear their conversation. "Duobao, don't be afraid. We should let Xian know about this matter. Otherwise, he will misunderstand you for the rest of his life. You guys, what are you trying to say? Tell me quickly." Xian could no longer hold back his temper and asked anxiously. Bei Li Yun said slowly, "After your father got drunk, not only did he abuse your mother, he also molested your sister. Last time, if I hadn't arrived in time, your sister would have been killed by him." Clang, this sound didn't come from the phone, but Bei Li Yun and Li Duobao turned around at the same time and saw Wuxia standing in the living room with a pale face. Beside her feet, a teacup was broken on the ground. She was like a walking corpse, walking towards them in a daze, muttering, "Duobao, is this true?" At the same time on the other end of the phone, Xian roared angrily, "I don't believe it, this is slander." Bei Li Yun's gaze fell on Wuxia, his left hand pressed on Li Duobao's shoulder, and said, "Duobao, since mom knows about it now, don't hide it from her anymore." His words reached Xian's ears at the same time. "Duobao, is it true?" Wuxia looked at Li Duobao blankly, her hands clenched into fists. Li Duobao bit her lips, a layer of light in her eyes, and she nodded slowly. "Why did you hide such a big thing from me?" Wuxia rushed in front of her and grabbed her arm excitedly. "Mom, at first, I thought stepfather was just drunk. I didn't want to destroy the relationship between you two, and I didn't want to destroy the image of the father in Xian's heart that he respected. Last time, he beat you until your head bled, and he almost... I was really scared. I was worried that if we forgave him, he would hurt us again when he got drunk one day. That's why I had people secretly pay attention to his actions. Mom, I really didn't mean to destroy the relationship between you two." "Don't say it, don't say it." Wuxia's tears fell like rain, and she hugged her tightly in her arms. Mom's silly daughter. You should have told Mom earlier. How could Mom blame you? Mom can't wait to feel sorry for you. It's all Mom's fault. Mom didn't find out earlier that Zhao Dai was a beast in human skin. Mom has let you down. It's Mom who has let you down. Mom, don't think like that. I hid it from you because I wanted you to be happy. You've already sacrificed too much for me and Xian." Mom's silly Bao. Wuxia hugged her daughter and wailed. This was the first time she cried so sadly in so many years. The mother and daughter hugged each other and cried. Bei Li Yun's eyes also shone brightly. He put the phone to his ear and said slowly, "You heard it all, right? Do you still think your sister did something wrong?" It turned out that he had pressed the hands-free button just now. Everything that had happened here, everything that Duobao and his mother had said, had been transmitted to Xian's ears without missing a word. Xian was dumbstruck, and his heart ached to the extreme. He had regarded his father as his idol since he was young. He worshipped his father, respected his father, and believed every word he said. He didn't expect that his father would lie to everyone and use him to save this broken marriage. He felt extremely ashamed. He actually said so many hurtful words to his mother and sister. He simply didn't have the face to face them anymore. A regretful sob came from the phone. Bailey Yun's voice softened a lot. Ah Xian, as a man, you have to be responsible. You have to know how to distinguish right from wrong. When you see things, you can't rely on your eyes and ears. Your sister and your mother are both here. Don't you want to say a few words to them? Ah Xian was silent for a while, then slowly said, Thank you, brother-in-law. I want to say a few words to my sister. Bailey Yun nodded and handed the phone to Li Duobao. Li Duobao wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes and pretended to be light. Ah Xian, it's me. Ah Xian paused, his voice hoarse. Sis, I'm sorry. I said a lot of nonsense. I'm really sorry. Can you forgive me? Li Duobao's lips slowly curled up, and he said softly, Ah Xian, we will always be a family. I have never been angry with you, so how can I forgive you? Sis, I'm sorry. The suppressed tears suddenly gushed out, and Ah Xian burst into tears. The phone was handed over to Wuxia again. Ah Xian's agitated emotions had recovered a lot. He said in a low voice, Mom, I said today that you are selfish. Please don't take it to heart. In fact, the one who is truly selfish is me. I have never thought of you from your point of view. I'm sorry. I won't object to your divorce with Dad anymore. Mom, Sis is right. You have sacrificed your entire life for us. It's time for you to think about yourself. I also hope that you can be happy. Wuxia shed tears, but there was a gratified smile on her lips. Ah Xian, Mom is very happy. You have finally grown up. The grudge between the family was resolved just like that. All that was left was to go through the divorce procedures with Zhao Dai. All of this was thanks to Bailey Yun. Wuxia valued him more and more. Even Ah Xian, who had never seen him before, was already convinced by him. His marriage with Li Duobao was also considered a sure thing. However, unexpectedly, there was still a test waiting for them ahead. Awesome novel, Song Shu 566. Chapter 406. It was late at night. Bailey Yun was half naked with a towel wrapped around his waist. He walked out of the bathroom while wiping his wet hair. He walked to the sofa and picked up his phone to take a look. There were no unchecked messages or missed calls. His heart felt empty. Today was the day Li Duobao's mother divorced that scumbag. She said that she wanted to stay by her mother's side. He wanted to give the mother and daughter a chance to heal alone, so he didn't go to her house to see her. It made him feel uncomfortable for the whole day. He kept feeling that something important was missing. The door lock clicked. Bai Liyun suddenly raised his head and looked over. The door opened and Li Duobao stood at the door wearing an orange dress. She stood straight like a statue and stared at him in a daze as if she was in a daze. Duobao, what's wrong with you? Bai Liyun rushed towards her anxiously. Li Duobao's long eyelashes fluttered and she ran into his arms. She leaned her head on his bare chest and said with a choked voice, Ah Yun, do you really love me? Will you always be loyal to me? Will you lie to me? Bailey Yun knew that she must have been agitated by her mother's divorce. He wrapped his arms around her waist and hugged her tightly. His smooth chin rubbed against her soft hair and he said softly, Duobao, I love you. I will be loyal to you for the rest of my life. I will never lie to you. Her eyes were sore. Her eyelashes fluttered slightly and tears gushed out. How long is forever? Bailey Yun held her face and stared into her eyes with a solemn expression. He said as if he was making an oath, Forever is one day longer than my life. As long as I'm alive, you will be the only woman I love. His gentle but firm voice entered her heart word by word, and the doubts about love that had arisen from her stepfather's betrayal of her mother gradually dissipated. Her tears turned into smiles, and her curved eyebrows were filled with a bright smile. Seeing her smile again, Bailey Yun's lips curled up. He rubbed her hair and said gently, Why didn't you call me before you came? What if you were in danger? Don't do this again. She sniffled and frowned. I know, I just suddenly missed you. The smile on Bai Liyun's face widened. Oh, I like hearing that. He bent down slightly and kissed her cheek, whispering in her ear, Don't go back tonight. His warm breath brushed against her ear, causing her body to tremble slightly. Her cheeks started to burn again. She lowered her eyes guiltily and realized that her hands were pressed against his broad chest. She could clearly feel the texture of his muscles. Under her palms, his heart was beating as fast as hers. She retracted her hands and lowered her head shyly. Biting her lips, she whispered, "No, we have to wait until after we get married." His large hand rubbed her hair hard, and a low laughter seemed to come from the depths of his chest, extremely magnetic. "Little fool, what are you thinking? What I mean is that it's too late, so don't go back and forth. Just sleep here for the night. Of course, if you can't wait, we can consummate our marriage tonight." "You're bullying me." Li Duobao's face turned red. She pouted and lightly punched his chest. He raised his eyebrows and smirked. "Why would I bully you? I can't wait to dote on you. It's obvious that some little fool is thinking the wrong way." Li Duobao stomped her feet and covered her face. "Stop talking. If you continue, I'm going to ignore you." His voice was full of laughter. "All right, let's stop joking. Sleep in the guest room tonight. I definitely won't take the opportunity to harass you." Although they had been dating for a few months, they had only held hands and kissed. They hadn't broken through the last line of defense. Bailey Yun cherished her very much and wanted to save the best for their wedding night. It was mid-August, and the sun was scorching. Li Duobao followed the flight and came to New York again. Because every time she came, Bailey Yun would take her around to play, so she was now more familiar with New York. Just as she came out of the airport, Bailey Yun's assistant, Kelly, was already waiting by the side of the road in his car. She smiled and shook hands with Kelly. "Kelly, sorry to trouble you. I have to ask you to send me home again." Kelly teased. "It's my honor. If the president didn't have something to do at the last minute, such a good job wouldn't have fallen to me." After Kelly sent Li Duobao to Bailey Yun's apartment, he rushed back to the company to report. Li Duobao packed her luggage and looked at the time. There was still more than an hour to lunch. In the past, she had made a few lunches and sent them to the company to have lunch with Bailey Yun. He was especially happy. This time, she wanted to do it again. As long as she thought about how surprised he would be, she felt sweet in her heart. Li Duobao made a few dishes that he liked and packed them in a lunchbox. She went out and hailed a taxi, heading to his company. There was a fountain in front of the Seagram building. The water sprayed up high and then sprinkled into the clear pool. The bright sunlight reflected on the surface of the water, making it sparkle. Li Duobao was wearing a bohemian-style long dress. Her hair was curled into big waves and draped over her shoulders. She wore brown sunglasses on her face and looked sexy and charming. It was very different from her usual pure image. She wondered if Yun would recognize her when he saw her later. She snickered and her lips curled into a playful arc. She was about to walk to the entrance of the building when she saw Bailey Yun and a beautiful blonde walking out from inside, talking and laughing. She recognized the woman. It was his secretary, Helen. Although she had only seen Helen twice, she had a deep impression of her beauty. Reflexively, she hid behind a big tree next to the fountain. She frowned. She couldn't understand her behavior. Why did she hide? However, it didn't seem right to walk out from behind the big tree. Just as she was letting her imagination run wild, her cell phone in her handbag suddenly rang. She hurriedly took out her cell phone from her handbag. The caller ID showed that it was Yun. She glanced at the two people who were walking to the parking lot and pressed the answer button. "Yun. Bao, have you eaten?" Bailey Yun's voice came from the phone. "Yes, I just ate. What about you?" She came out from behind the big tree and watched them walk further and further away. "I'm in the office. I ordered takeout. I'll come back early after I finish my business in the afternoon. Gi Guy is waiting for me at home." His voice was so gentle. She was silent for a moment. "Are you in the office now?" "Yes, what's wrong?" "Nothing." She paused and said, "Then hurry up and eat. Don't starve yourself. I'll hang up first." Without waiting for him to answer, she directly hung up the phone. Why did he lie to her? He was clearly outside the company. No, that's not right. He was clearly with his secretary, but he lied to her and said that he was in the office. Why? Was it because he had done something wrong and felt guilty? He had once promised her that he would never lie to her. Now, she began to wonder how much of what he had said to her was true. In the parking lot, Bailey Yun stood in front of his car and stared at the phone in his hand. His secretary, Helen, saw that he wasn't moving and asked with concern, "President, what's wrong?" Bailey Yun retracted his thoughts and smiled. "It's nothing. Let's go." After getting into the car and starting the car, he still felt that something was wrong. Duo Bao didn't seem to be in a good mood. She never hung up on him before. Did something happen? That's not right. Kelly said that when he sent Duo Bao home, she was very happy. Perhaps he was thinking too much. Inside the jewelry store, the decorations were splendid. A handsome man and a beautiful woman sat in front of the wedding ring counter. The woman wore an exquisite diamond ring on her slender finger as she smiled and said something to the man. The man's eyes were full of smiles as he answered a few words. Then, he turned his gaze to Miss at the counter and asked her to take out more styles of diamond rings. The two of them were choosing wedding rings. Li Duobao felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She stiffly lay in front of the glass wall of the jewelry store. Her mind was in a mess as she stared at the man and woman chatting and laughing at the banquet. She didn't expect that she would see such a heartbreaking scene when she followed Bailey Yun's car. Tears quickly welled up in her eyes, blurring her vision. Like a puppet, she stiffly turned around and moved her heavy footsteps to avoid the dazzling scene. She didn't even have the courage to rush in and question him. Li Duobao returned to the empty villa and sat on the sofa in a daze for more than an hour. Her eyes were so dry that she couldn't cry anymore. She put the clothes she had tidied up a few hours ago back into the suitcase and stuffed all her personal belongings inside. Without leaving a word, she left without looking back. Bailey Yun deliberately got off work early and rushed home to see the little woman he missed dearly. However, when he hurriedly opened the door, it was empty. There was no one there. He quickly ran upstairs and opened the door to her room. There was still no one there. Even her suitcase was gone. Bailey Yun quickly felt uneasy. He dialed her number, and the cold female voice told him that the other party had turned off her phone. Uneasiness and fear were like the hands of the devil, tightly gripping his neck and suffocating him. He tried hard to control his panic and dialed the phone back to the country. "Auntie, did Duobao contact you today?" "Yes, when she just arrived in New York today. She called me to tell me that she was safe." "What's wrong?" Wuxia's slightly worried voice came over. "It's nothing. I was just asking." Bailey Yun casually found a reason and quickly hung up the phone. Then, he called her good friend Ran Yuyu. Ran Yuyu said that when Duobao arrived in New York, she sent her a text message to tell her that she was safe. After that, she didn't contact her again. Come and see. Hongcha 866. Chapter 407. Bailey Yun made a round of phone calls, but he didn't manage to find out Li Duobao's whereabouts. He was about to go crazy. He clenched his fist and slammed it on the coffee table. The intense pain made him tremble. A thought suddenly flashed through his mind. Did she return to the Hilton Hotel? She had said before that their company always booked rooms at that hotel for their employees. Bailey Yun was excited. He called the hotel's front desk directly. Miss at the front desk said that the flight attendants of Central South Airlines were indeed staying at their hotel. "Please help me check Miss Li Duobao's room number." "I'm sorry. We keep the guest's room number a secret." No matter how Bailey Yun asked, the other party refused to tell him the room number. The veins on his forehead bulged. In the end, he hung up the phone and drove straight to the hotel. There were so many rooms in the Hilton Hotel. It was impossible for him to search every room. Bailey Yun slammed the car door. He held a loudspeaker in his hand and strode to the hotel's atrium. From here, he could see all the floors. He raised the loudspeaker and stood in the atrium with a cold expression. He slowly looked around and said loudly, "Li Duobao, I know you're here. Come out. I have something to talk to you about." The loudspeaker transmitted his voice in all directions, attracting the attention of many people and the hotel's security personnel. 2 security personnel came forward and stopped him. "Sir, your actions have disturbed our hotel's guests. Please turn off the loudspeaker." Bailey Yun ignored them and continued to speak loudly in Chinese. "Li Duobao, what happened? Why did you leave me? Come out now and explain yourself." More people came out of the hotel rooms and stood on the balcony. They looked down curiously. Some of them were foreigners who didn't know what he was shouting about. Some of them were Chinese and enthusiastically applauded him. Hey bro, you're very brave. I support you. Someone shouted. That girl called Li Duobao, come out quickly. If you don't come out, your boyfriend will be taken away by the security. Sure enough, the two security guards grabbed Bai Liyun's arm and seemed to want to drag him away by force. Bai Liyun, on the other hand, did not look embarrassed at all. His cold gaze continued to scan the surroundings, trying to find that little woman in the crowd. However, there was no one there. She was not among these people. Sir, if you don't stop this behavior, we will forcibly take you out of the hotel. The security guard gave an ultimatum. Bai Liyun ignored them and continued to shout through the loudspeaker, Li Duobao, I love you. Don't you love me anymore? Are you okay with me being arrested by the police? Li Duobao, answer me. Pa! The loudspeaker was snatched away by the security guard and thrown to the ground. The sharp, ear-piercing sound echoed in the empty atrium. Duobao, your boyfriend is fighting with the security guard. Oh no, oh no. There are two of them, and Bai Liyun is alone. He will definitely suffer. The door of a room was wide open. A beautiful woman was lying on the balcony, watching with great interest. From time to time, she would turn back to report the situation to the people hiding in the room. Li Duobao covered her ears and shook her head in pain. She didn't want to hear it. He was going to marry another woman. Why did he come here and say something to disturb her mood? Oh my God, Duobao! A security guard hit Bai Liyun's face. He is so handsome. Will he be disfigured? Li Duobao's colleague, Zhu Ling, who had been broadcasting live from the balcony for Li Duobao. Zhu Ling's exaggerated scream came again. Oh, this time they hit Bai Liyun's stomach. Bai Liyun is so pitiful. Before she could finish her words, the ostrich with the surname Li and the name Duobao, who was hiding in the room, rushed out of the room like lightning and ran to the elevator. Zhu Ling's lips curled up high. She proudly stared at Bai Liyun, who had beaten the security guard to the ground. She muttered, Bai Liyun, oh Bai Liyun, when you get the beauty back, don't forget my great kindness. Li Duobao rushed into the atrium like a bullet. When she saw the situation in front of her, she quickly stopped and turned around to escape. She was so stupid. She was actually deceived by Zhu Ling. The current situation was not Bai Liyun being beaten up, but he was beating someone else to the ground. But just as she ran a step, her arm was grabbed and she was pulled back to the warm and familiar chest. Bro, you're too awesome. There was a cheer around. He acted as if he didn't hear anything. He only had eyes for her. His arms were tightly wrapped around her back. Because of his excitement, his body was trembling slightly. Even his voice was trembling. Why did you leave? Her eyes were extremely sore. She bit her lips hard and forced herself to hold back her tears. She deliberately armed herself with indifference. Why can't I leave? Do I have to stay and be humiliated by you? Why did you leave without saying goodbye? Why did you turn off your phone? Damn it. Do you know how anxious I was? I thought you were kidnapped again. Bai Liyun held her shoulders and roared at her. The fire in his eyes almost burned her to ashes. He was the one who was in the wrong, so why was she the one who was being blamed? She was full of grievances and struggled hard. Let go of me. I don't want you to care. From this moment on, we're breaking up. We're breaking up. Bai Liyun's eyes suddenly tightened, his entire body emitting a cold aura. He stared straight into her eyes. His hands were like iron pincers, pinching her bones to the point of pain. He said word by word. Say that again? Tears welled up in her eyes. She shouted desperately. We're breaking up. I said we're breaking up. Li Duobao, I'm giving you one more chance. I order you to take back what you said. Bai Liyun's eyes were dyed with a layer of scarlet because of his anger. His gaze was frighteningly fierce. He looked as if he was going to pounce on her and tear her apart. I won't take back what I said. Let go of me. Don't touch me again. It's dirty. She didn't want him to touch her after touching another woman's hand. It would make her feel disgusted and extremely stupid. However, Bai Liyun was greatly affected by her words. Dirty. Indeed, this was her true thoughts. She used to say that she wouldn't mind his past, but it was all a lie. It was all a lie. She felt that he was dirty from the bottom of her heart. She felt that he wasn't worthy of her. His body stiffened. His face was pale and his lips couldn't stop trembling. He allowed her to push him back fiercely. He staggered a few steps and almost fell to the ground. His vision was a blur and he could only see her figure running away quickly. He was like a big tree that had been attacked by the wind and snow. He no longer had his usual heroic appearance. All that was left was the vicissitudes of life and decadence. He clenched his fists tightly and stared in the direction she disappeared. His shoulders felt as if there was a heavy weight pressing down on them, causing him to suffocate. "Sir, please come with us. You are suspected of intentional injury." When Bailey Yun beat up the security guard, the hotel had already called the police. At this moment, the police rushed over and wanted to take him back to the police station. Bailey Yun didn't say a word and silently followed the police. The crowd that had surrounded the balcony to watch the show for a long time let out a hissing sound. Li Duobao ran back to the bathroom in the room in one breath, locked the door, turned on the tap, and cried loudly under the cover of the sound of running water. Zhu Ling crossed her arms and leaned against the wall next to the bathroom. Her brows were deeply furrowed. Sigh, could it be that she had done something wrong? After Bailey Yun was arrested and sent to the police station, his lawyer quickly rushed over. After negotiating with the injured security guard, the security guard was willing to accept the compensation and give up the lawsuit against Bailey Yun. More than half a month had passed. Bailey Yun's originally thin face had become even thinner. His handsome face, which was originally full of smiles, was shrouded by dark clouds. The company's employees didn't dare to provoke him for fear of becoming cannon fodder. The vice president, Jarif, was an American Chinese. He was an alumnus of Bailey Yun and had a good relationship with him in private. On this day, Jarif brought 2 cups of coffee to his office, saying that he wanted to have coffee with him. Jarif sighed. "Ah Yun, do you know that the employees are very afraid of you recently? It's enough to have a fussy boss like me in the company. If you were to join in, everyone would have no way to survive." Bailey Yun took a sip of coffee and said expressionlessly, "I'll be careful in the future." Jarif leaned closer to him. "In that case, try smiling first." Bailey Yun's stiff lips twitched. Jarif waved his hand helplessly. "Forget it, don't smile. Your smile is even uglier than your gloomy face now." Bailey Yun glanced at him coldly. "If there's nothing else, go back to your office. I have to work." Jarif walked to the office door and stopped in his tracks. After a few seconds of silence he said without looking back, "Ah Yun, I know why you're in a bad mood. If you really can't bear to part with her, then get her back so that you won't regret it in the future." There was an imperceptible desolation in his voice. Bailey Yun was slightly stunned. He looked down at the black coffee in his hand. It was very bitter, just like his heart during this period. Very bitter. Stepping foot on the land of New York again, Li Duobao was no longer as happy as before. She was like an eggplant that had been hit by frost, wilting. She dragged her suitcase unhappily and followed her colleagues to the parking lot. The bus that their company had rented was parked there and would take them to the hotel. Suddenly, a series of hurried footsteps came from behind. Before she could pay much attention to it, her arms suddenly tightened as a large palm grabbed her. She slowly turned around and bumped into a pair of deep and cold eyes. Bailey Yun was wearing black suit pants and a white shirt. His handsome face was slightly red from the sun, and his fine hair had a healthy luster under the sun. After not seeing him for more than 10 days, he was still so handsome that people couldn't take their eyes off him. However, his face seemed to have lost some weight, and there was a dark shadow under his eyes. It was obvious that he hadn't been doing well recently. But why wasn't he doing well? He was going to marry another woman. What was wrong with that? Come and see. Xinwu 799. Chapter 408. Thinking of this, Li Duobao's heart was filled with anger. She bit her lips and glared at him angrily. He looked at her coldly as well. The two of them looked at each other without saying a word. The colleagues around them were already whispering, full of curiosity about them. She pulled her arm uncomfortably and said stiffly, "Let go. I'm not letting go." His thin lips were pursed as he tried his best to suppress his emotions. "Li Duobao, tell me, what did I do wrong? Why did you want to break up with me?" She clenched her fists tightly and smiled coldly. "Was it because I brought up the breakup first and embarrassed second young master? Is that why you're holding on to me so tightly? How about this? You'll be the one to bring up the breakup. We'll break up again. Am I that kind of person in your eyes? He tightened his grip on her wrist, causing her bones to hurt. She held on and didn't make a sound. His voice was hoarse as he said word by word, I never said that I wanted to break up. Why are you in such a hurry to leave me? Have you fallen in love with someone else? Li Duobao laughed softly as if she had heard a funny joke. Her laughter was so untimely that it made everyone suspicious. They all quieted down and several pairs of eyes stared at them through the window. The bus driver was only waiting for Li Duobao now. He pressed the horn impatiently. Li Duobao stopped laughing and said indifferently, the person who fell in love with someone else isn't me. Don't put such a crime on me. Let go. I don't want others to see me as a joke anymore. Bailey Yun didn't let go. Instead, he held her even tighter. He grabbed her luggage with his other hand and dragged her in another direction. Li Duobao was forced to follow behind him. She shouted angrily, What are you doing? Let go of me. Bailey Yun didn't say a word. Ignoring her protests, he dragged her to his car, opened the door, stuffed her into the passenger seat, and quickly buckled her seatbelt. The Ferrari disappeared from the parking lot in the blink of an eye. The bus driver shook his head and stepped on the accelerator. The stewardesses in the bus were still sighing about how lucky Li Duobao was. Bailey Yun drove Li Duobao all the way back to his villa in less than an hour. He threw her onto the sofa and held the back of the sofa with his arms. He looked down at her and said in a deep voice, What did you mean by that? Since you didn't fall in love with anyone else, why did you break up? He looked cold and fierce on the surface, but his heart was filled with apprehension. He told himself over and over again that she didn't despise him. She didn't despise him. Li Duobao turned his head away angrily, his eyes glistening with tears. You're the one who fell in love with someone else, but you make it sound like I'm the one who let you down. I hate you to death. Why did you barge into my world? Why did you say things that made me misunderstand? Why did you betray me when I fell in love with you? Bailey Yun's body trembled. He turned her face and forced her to look into his eyes. His voice trembled as he said, Bao, you said you love me? Li Duobao burst into tears. Can't you listen to the main point? You jerk. Go away. Don't come near me again. She kicked his leg angrily. Not only was he not angry, but he was ecstatic as he hugged her tightly. He muttered, Bao, you love me. You don't like anyone else. Bao, I'm so happy. Li Duobao was embarrassed and angry that he caught her words. She kicked him with her hands and feet. Go away, don't touch me. We've already broken up. If you want to hug someone else. Bao, don't be agitated. Listen to me, I love you too. I've never betrayed you. Bailey Yun ignored the pain in his leg and hugged her tightly, not letting her break free from his embrace. I don't believe you. I clearly saw you buying a ring with another woman. You're getting married, right? I wish you all the best. Li Duobao's tears fell like rain. God knows how much courage it took for her to say the word, blessing. Bailey Yun was slightly startled. He finally understood how big of a misunderstanding there was between the two of them. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He gently stroked her back. Bao, you misunderstood. I asked Hai Luan to accompany me to choose a ring because I wanted her to give me advice from a woman's point of view. That ring is not for her. Li Duobao complained tearfully. Oh, it's not for Hai Luan. You have a second woman. Little fool. Where did I get a second woman? The ring is for you. Bailey Yun was afraid that she wouldn't believe him. He hurriedly took out a small red velvet box from his trouser pocket. After opening it, he presented it to her. Look, it's really for you. Li Duobao stared at the ring in front of her in disbelief. She even forgot to cry. It was small, exquisite, and very beautiful. She didn't say a word. She didn't know how long she was in a daze. Bailey Yun accompanied her in silence. He held the ring firmly with both hands and knelt on one knee in front of the sofa. This posture was like a proposal. She pursed her lips. So, did I really misunderstand? You really misunderstood. Bailey Yun secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The corner of his lips hooked up into a gentle smile. He gazed at her affectionately. Bow, will you marry me? Her fair cheeks were slowly dyed with a layer of red. She recalled what she had done and felt guilty. In fact, it was a very simple misunderstanding, but she didn't dare to ask him. As a result, the misunderstanding grew bigger. She almost didn't dare to look into his eyes. She stretched out her finger and said with a trembling voice, "Help me put it on." Bailey Yun grinned and happily answered, "Okay." He gently put the ring on her finger. Li Duobao rubbed the ring on her finger and said awkwardly, "Does your leg still hurt?" She was angry earlier and kicked it a few times. "It doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt." Bailey Yun grinned like a fool. He even touched his nose foolishly. Where was his high-spirited appearance from before? Li Duobao couldn't help but burst into laughter. She threw herself into his arms and hugged him tightly. She whispered, "Ah Yun, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you." He stroked her long hair and whispered, "Bao, did I make you feel insecure?" She was like a child who had done something wrong. She hung her head and revealed half of her fair neck. Gi Gai apologized. "I'm sorry. I won't do it again." Bao, I'm the one who should be apologizing. I didn't do well enough, so I made you feel insecure. He pulled her into his arms, held her face, and kissed her forehead. He said seriously, "Bao, no matter what happens in the future, we have to tell each other. If we have any doubts between us, we have to be honest with each other. We don't have to hide it in our hearts anymore, okay?" She nodded seriously. "Okay." Bao, if we quarrel again in the future, no matter how angry we are, don't ever say that we broke up, okay? Until now, his heart would ache whenever he recalled the scene when she said that she wanted to break up. Her eyes were filled with tears. "Okay. Ayun, I won't say that again. Okay, we won't break up for the rest of our lives." Bailey Yun hugged her tightly and rubbed his chin on her soft hair. The two of them snuggled together quietly. Li Duobao stole glances at the ring on his finger from time to time, and the corners of his lips curled up. How could she hide her thoughts from Bailey Yun? He pinched her nose affectionately and chuckled. "This time, you really scared me to death. Tell me, how are you going to make it up to me?" Her bright eyes turned slightly. She raised her head and kissed him lightly on the chin. He smirked. "Not enough." Her lips slowly moved up and kissed his lips. Their lips touched, and a numb feeling immediately spread throughout his body. He hugged her tightly and tried to use his tongue to pry open her lips. She opened her lips slightly, and his tongue slid into her mouth. His kiss was like wine, making her unknowingly intoxicated. When he let go of her at the last moment, her dress had already slipped down, revealing the spring color of her chest. She leaned on his chest with an intoxicated look in her eyes and softened into a puddle of spring water. He bit her earlobe and panted, "I really want to turn you into my wife immediately. That way, I won't have to endure so much." She placed her soft little hands on his waist and smiled foolishly. Her mother said that if a man was willing to control his desire for her, then he must love her very much. She wanted to hold on to this man who loved her tightly and not let go for the rest of her life. October was the season of osmanthus fragrances. The young wives and young ladies of a city were going crazy. The affectionate second young Master Bailey that they loved so much was actually getting married. How could their hearts not be broken? This month was a double blessing for the Bailey family. First, the rebellious child, Bailey Yun, had finally made a name for himself. His company entered the China market and got off to a good start. Second, the licentious child, Bailey Yun, had finally settled his marriage and welcomed Li Duobao into the family. On the day of the wedding, there was a sea of people and guests. It was very lively. After the wedding, it was already evening. Bailey Yun ignored the ambiguous gazes of his family members and directly carried his little wife, who was so tired that she was about to collapse, upstairs and into the new room. Just a few minutes after he turned around to change his clothes, his little wife was already lying on the quilt in a daze and was about to fall asleep. "Bao, get up and change your clothes first. Otherwise, you'll feel uncomfortable." He touched her cheek lovingly. Hoo-hoo. A certain someone who hadn't had a good night's sleep for 2 days simply ignored him. She turned around and continued to snore. Marriage was so tiring and painful. She didn't want to get married again in this lifetime. Bai Liyun saw how tired she was and couldn't bear to force her. He chuckled and gently helped her remove her hair, remove her makeup, and change her clothes. In order not to wake her up, his movements were very gentle and slow. It took him more than half an hour to help her change into comfortable pajamas. He also removed the makeup on her face and tidied her smooth long hair. Bao, you're finally my wife. Bai Liyun took off his shoes and went to her side and pulled her into his arms. As soon as she touched his chest, she naturally reached out and hugged him. Her little head even rubbed against his chest as a serene smile bloomed on her lips. Bai Liyun lovingly kissed her forehead. His eyes were filled with her. Li Duobao slept until the early hours of the morning. When she opened her eyes in a daze, in the warm new room, the wall lamp was still on. The light was soft and didn't hurt her eyes. Her waist was wrapped around a pair of strong arms and her chest was tightly pressed against a broad chest. Add Xinwu 799. Chapter 409. She slowly raised her head and saw a handsome face. Although she had been with him day and night for a long time, she still felt that she could not get enough of him. His beautiful eyebrows relaxed, his tall nose bridge, his thin chin, and the faint smile on his thin lips were extremely charming. She could not help but be infatuated as she quietly kissed his lips. He suddenly opened his eyes, which were filled with smiles. The corners of his lips curled up even higher, and his magnetic voice overflowed from his lips. Wifey, looks like you've recovered your energy. Can we begin our wedding night? Her beautiful face was flushed red, and her watery eyes were filled with indescribable emotions. She slightly pursed her lips and took the initiative to wrap her arms around his neck, using her actions to express her feelings. Because he cherished her, he was willing to abstain from lust for her, and because she cherished him, she was willing to give up her shyness for him. His eyes were filled with smiles, and his extremely gentle kisses landed on her skin, releasing his strong feelings bit by bit. He supported the back of her head with one hand and wrapped the other around her slender waist. His nimble and powerful tongue slid into her mouth and sucked as much as he wanted. All that was left of her was a soft whimper, and the heat between his lips and tongue was transmitted into her mind in waves. A kind of emptiness was born in the depths of her soul, and she wanted to ask for more. She began to respond to his feelings, and her hands unconsciously stroked his back. While their lips and teeth were intertwined, his hands were not idle either. He quietly removed the clothes on the two of them, and when their lips separated, the two of them were already naked to each other. His black jade-like eyes became darker and darker, as unfathomable as an abyss. There was a devilish smile on his lips, and his mellow and sexy voice whispered into her ear, "Bauer, call my name." Her entire body had already gone limp, and she was powerless to resist. She trembled and curled up under his body, as if she was panting and moaning, "Ah Yun! Bauer, I love you!" His kiss landed on her chest. Her fragrant lips slightly parted, and her watery eyes rippled with charm. Her slender fingers grabbed onto his shoulders, as if she was resisting, but also seemed to be welcoming. Her waist gently twisted into a seductive arc, and a soft moan finally overflowed from her throat. Their limbs were intertwined, and their skin was touching. The sound of her panting seemed to be a little heavier. The cold air mixed with the ambiguous temperature, and no one could dispel it. The painful groan gradually turned into a gentle moan. The two figures were entwined together. Li Duobao whispered his name. "Ah Yun, Ah Yun." Her passionate call made him feel as if he was in the clouds. He hugged her tightly and allowed the storm to wrap around them tightly, throwing them to the top of the waves. That night, he treated her with extreme gentleness, and they finally became husband and wife. When Li Duobao woke up again, it was already noon of the second day. The first thing he felt was pain. His body felt as if it had been run over by a car. The second thing he felt was hunger. He was so hungry that he felt dizzy and his stomach was growling. She subconsciously touched the space beside her. It was empty. She turned her head to look at the empty space. She panicked and felt uncomfortable. When Bai Liyun pushed open the door and entered the room with a plate of food, he saw his wife sitting alone on the bed with a blanket in her arms, crying in a daze. "Baby, what's wrong? Is it too painful?" Bai Liyun quickly put the food tray on the table, walked quickly to the bedside, squatted in front of her and asked softly. Li Duobao ignored the pain in his body and threw herself into his arms. She sobbed aggrievedly, "I didn't see you when I woke up. I thought he didn't want her anymore. Li Duobao suddenly felt that her thoughts were very stupid, so she was too embarrassed to say it out loud. She was afraid that he would laugh at her. Bailey Yun's heart was full of love. He gently stroked her back. Baby, be good. Don't cry. I was worried that you were hungry, so I went downstairs to bring food up. Look, I asked people to prepare a lot of your favorite dishes. She wiped her tears in embarrassment. You go out first. I want to change my clothes. You're not feeling well. I'll help you change. No. Hurry up and go out. Wife, from now on, you have to slowly get used to it, because we are husband and wife. Although he said that, Bailey Yun still left the room. He knew that his wife was very shy. These things needed to be done slowly. Li Duobao forced her sore body to change her clothes. After washing up, she returned to the bedroom. Bailey Yun had already set up the food and smiled at her to hurry up and eat. The fragrant food was all her favorite. Her appetite was greatly stimulated and she quickly ate her stomach until it was round. After the meal, he bent down and carried her to the sofa to rest. She lay on his chest and listened to his steady heartbeat. She actually felt a little drowsy again. Bailey Yun pulled a blanket over her and gently combed her soft hair. His heart was unbelievably soft. There was a soft sound of the door opening. Bai Li Yun turned his head to look. Xiao Bao walked in with a sneaky smile. He put his finger on his lips and made a shushing gesture. Xiao Bao nodded in understanding and quietly walked to the sofa. Li Duobao felt that someone was coming over and opened her eyes slightly. Seeing Xiao Bao standing in front of her, she immediately stood up and planned to get up from Bailey Yun's body. Xiao Bao giggled and said, Aunt Duobao, don't be nervous. I'm here to give you a gift. Gift? Yeah, your wedding gift. You didn't come downstairs today, so I went straight to your room. I didn't disturb you, did I? The little guy asked even though he knew the answer. Bailey Yun raised his eyebrows. Li Duobao quickly said, No. Xiao Bao took out the hand behind his back. In his hand was a watercolor painting. The painting was very simple. It was a couple holding a little boy's hand. However, the title was very meaningful. It was called Daddy, Mommy, and Me. He generously handed the watercolor painting to Li Duobao with both hands and grinned. This is for you. Happy wedding. Son, thank you. Bailey Yun was extremely touched. He hugged him and kissed him hard on the face. Xiao Bao, you're too good to me. I like you so much. Li Duobao was so touched that tears welled up in his eyes. He wanted to reach out and hug Xiao Bao, but Bailey Yun pulled him into his embrace and hugged both of them. Wife, child, they were all here. What regrets could there be in such a life? Xiao Bao cried out, Ayaya, Daddy, don't use so much strength. I'm about to be squeezed to death. Aunt Duobao, I beg you, don't wipe your tears and snot on me. Son, can you not spoil the mood like this? Haha. The sunlight was tranquil, and the laughter of the family of three echoed in the room. Their happiness had just begun. May they continue to be happy. Add, Hongcha 866. Chapter 410. In the VIP ward. The winter sun shone in through the window and lazily spread on the floor, leaving mottled spots of light. A beautiful woman lay on the bed. Her long black hair was soft like silk and draped over her shoulders. She had a gentle smile on her face as she stared at the man standing at the head of the bed. The man was wearing a dark-colored sweater with his sleeves rolled up. He placed his hands in a basin of hot water and twisted a towel before personally wiping her cheeks. The woman smiled. Chiefeng, I can do these things myself. Xiao Qifeng's gentle face had a gentle smile and his dark eyes were full of tenderness. Yun, if you do everything yourself, what do you need me as your husband for? Gigai, don't move. It'll be done soon. On Yun, Xiao Qifeng's wife, was also Xiao Tianqing's sister-in-law. Even though this woman used to be the woman he loved, he could only respectfully address her as sister-in-law now. Xiao Tianqing stood at the door of the ward with his hands slightly clenched into fists. There was no expression on his handsome face as his deep eyes shrouded the two of them. On Yun inadvertently raised her head and saw the person standing at the door. The smile on her face gradually froze and the tenderness in her eyes gradually dissipated. Xiao Qifeng acutely sensed the change in her and unhurriedly finished wiping her hands. He slowly turned around and smiled. Tiansheng, you're back. At some point, the coldness in Xiao Tiansheng's eyes had faded, and a cynical smile appeared on his face. He put his hands in his trouser pockets and walked into the ward. Elder brother, elder sister-in-law, congratulations on having a daughter. Xiao Qifeng smiled gently. Thank you. On Yun pursed her lips and a smile slowly bloomed in her eyes. She said softly, Tianxing, was Sonya fun? Xiao Tianxing sat on the sofa and casually crossed his legs. He grinned. It was fun. You don't know, but Xiao Rue is now as tanned as a native. His whole body is so black that if you throw him into a pile of coal, you won't be able to tell him apart. On Yun covered her mouth and chuckled softly. Xiao Qifeng shook his head in amusement. You're making up stories about Xiao Rue. Be careful, he'll settle the score with you if he finds out. Xiao Tianxing shrugged nonchalantly. What's there to be afraid of? We're all family here. That's true. Have you gone home to see your parents? As Xiao Qifeng spoke, he adjusted the blanket for On Yun and even pinched the corner of the blanket. His considerate actions made On Yun purse her lips and smile. Xiao Tianxing exclaimed exaggeratedly. As long as the old master doesn't summon me, I'll definitely not walk into his trap. Otherwise, I'll be scolded to death by him. Oh, when will you be sensible? Xiao Qifeng's eyebrows were tinged with a hint of helplessness. The smile on Yun's face faded. She deliberated for a moment and said softly, In Tianxing, Dad and Mom are old and need someone to take care of them. They really hope that you can move back here. Xiao Tianxing dug his ears and revealed an impatient expression. Do you have to be like this? Every time we meet you talk about this topic. My ears are getting calluses. Isn't it good that you guys are taking care of Dad and Mom? At worst, I'll promise you that I'll go home to visit them often. Xiao Qifeng's expression became more and more helpless. His lips moved as if he wanted to say something. On Yun pressed the back of his hand at the right time and used her eyes to signal him not to push too hard. Xiao Tianxing looked at the two of them as if they had a tacit understanding of each other's eyes. A hint of sadness flashed through his eyes. Mr. Xiao, Mrs. Xiao, it's time to feed the child. The nurse carried the child and knocked on the door. Xiao Qifeng suppressed the words that were about to come out of his mouth and said, Come in. The nurse carried the child in with a smile on her face. This is my little niece. Let me see. Xiao Tianxing was so excited that he jumped up from the sofa. Be careful. Don't drop the child. Xiao Qifeng frowned slightly. He was a little worried about his younger brother's impetuous personality. Okay. You're the only one with a child. Don't look down on others. Xiao Tianxing took the child from the nurse's hands. The child was just 4 days old. Her face was not fully developed, and her skin was wrinkled and ugly. He was used to having a sharp tongue and wanted to praise the child. After thinking for a long time, he squeezed out a sentence. The child is so beautiful. Her nose is her nose, and her eyes are her eyes. Xiao Qifeng's face darkened. On Yun could not help but laugh out loud. Tianxing, who praises people like you? Xiao Tianxing smiled awkwardly and teased Xiao Bao in his arms. Little niece, I'm your uncle. Call me uncle. Xiao Qifeng was angry about his praise just now and deliberately attacked him. I'm her daddy. If you want to call her that, you have to learn how to call me first. Xiao Tianxing looked up and glared at him. Brother, can you not be so vengeful? Xiao Qifeng sighed helplessly. Forget it. I'm tired of bickering with you. On Yun laughed again. Actually, she really wanted to see the two brothers bickering. At least it meant that the invisible barrier between them was slowly disappearing. Yi Siki did not expect to meet Xiao Tianxing here. He was wearing a black coat and a scarf around his neck. He was sitting on a bench on the lawn of the hospital. His handsome face was expressionless. His deep eyes were looking indifferently into the distance. No one knew what he was looking at. The winter sun poured down on him, and there was a faint sense of loneliness. Yi Siki, who had been walking towards the hospital building, stopped in her tracks. She turned her legs and walked slowly towards him in her high heels. The crisp sound of her high heels stopped a few meters away from him. Xiao Tianxing slowly shifted his gaze. Yi Siki was wearing a cashmere coat and a pair of brown high-heeled boots. She was carrying a bag in her hand and smiled at him. "You're back from Sonya?" Xiao Tianqing's lips curled up. "Yeah." Yi Siki sat beside him. There was a short distance between them. She smiled faintly. "What are you doing here? Are you not feeling well?" He turned to look at her. There was a questioning look in his eyes. "Are you worried about me?" Yi Siki smiled. "Yes. You've helped me so many times. It's only right that I care about you, Teacher Xiao." Teacher Xiao. This was what she called him when he gave her advice on her marriage. His eyes were filled with warmth. Unfortunately, the warmth quickly dissipated. He said indifferently, "I'm here to visit my sister-in-law. She just gave birth to a daughter. Speaking of which, it's such a coincidence that your husband helped her deliver the baby." Yi Siki was slightly stunned. Shi Hao had only helped one woman deliver a baby in the past few days, and that was the daughter of the municipal party secretary. Moreover, he had been called back by the hospital director when he was on vacation in Sonya. She composed herself and joked, "Don't you want a daughter too? You're an uncle now. You're considered very close to the child." Xiao Tianqing's lips curved into a mocking smile. "I almost wasn't the child's uncle anymore. I almost became the child's father." Yi Siki was stunned. She forced a smile. "You can't make such jokes casually." His gaze was slightly cold and his lips were pursed. "Do you still remember that I told you that we're in the same boat?" Of course she remembered. She had a deep impression of his lonely expression at that time. At that time, she had unintentionally hurt him, and she had been upset for a long time. He looked into the distance with a cold gaze and said slowly, "Yun Yun, my brother and I grew up together. Originally, Yun Yun and I were a couple, but both parents felt that Yun Yun and my brother were more compatible. Yun Yun chose to marry my brother under her parents' persuasion. She didn't even resist at all. On the eve of their wedding, I ran to her house without a care in the world. I said, 'Let's elope.' She looked at me and smiled. After she smiled, she said, 'Tianxing, don't be silly. Where can the two of us escape to?' She said, 'I think my dad is right. Qifeng and I are more compatible. He's mature and steady, while you're like a child. You never grow up and you make me feel insecure.' At that time, my entire heart turned cold. I attended their wedding and saw her smiling happily in my brother's arms. I still didn't want to believe it. I told myself that she must have been forced. There was no love between her and my brother. I moved out of the house because I didn't want to face them. Until today, when I saw how loving they were, I realized how ridiculous I was. They had already forgotten about me. I was the only one who was still foolishly standing in the same place. It turned out that he had such a past. On the surface, he was frivolous, but in reality, he was more devoted than anyone else. Yi Siki completely changed her view of him at that moment and truly saw him as a friend. She pursed her lips and said softly, "I'm not as smart as you. I don't know how to comfort you, but I want to tell you, Xiao Tianxing, you're a good man. You'll find the happiness that belongs to you." Xiao Tianxing was slightly stunned. Her gaze was very serious, and it didn't seem like she was comforting him. He smiled and said, "You're the first person to say that I'm a good man." She smiled sincerely. "When I was in trouble, you saved me. When I was helpless, you didn't take advantage of me. You gave me advice and helped me save my marriage. I'm really grateful to you. No matter what kind of disguise you use, I know that you're a good person." He smiled. "Thank you." She smiled back. "You're welcome." The loneliness between his brows gradually disappeared. He raised his eyebrows. "You're here to see your husband?" "Yes. Isn't it lunchtime?" Yi Siki waved the bag in her hand. "I made chicken soup and plan to send it to his office." Xiao Tianxing's eyes moved slightly. His lips curled into a meaningful smile. "Call him and ask him to come here." She was slightly stunned. "Here. It's very cold outside. The chicken soup will turn cold very quickly." He was exasperated. "Why are you still so stubborn? If your husband comes and sees such a suave and handsome man sitting next to you, how will he feel?" Her eyes widened. "I understand." He lifted his chin in satisfaction. "Make the call." After the call, Xiao Tianxing asked her, Have you asked your husband? Why did he want to meet by Mei Wei at Seductive Charm but lie to you? Come and see. Hongcha 866. Chapter 4:11. Yi Siki shook her head. Why didn't you ask? She looked down at the withered lawn and said calmly, I was going to ask him, but on second thought, it's been too long. If I ask him now, it'll seem like I don't trust him enough. Since I've decided to take him back, I'll trust him one more time. Xiao Tianxing raised his eyebrows thoughtfully. She suddenly looked up and smiled at him. I almost forgot. Tell me your bank account number. I'll transfer the money to you later. He said helplessly. Must you calculate it so clearly? Of course. Even if we're friends, I can't take advantage of you. Yi Siki took out a post-it note and a pen from her handbag and urged. Hurry up and tell me. You're a man. Don't be so wishy-washy. Okay. Xiao Tianxing had no choice but to give her his bank account number. He looked down at her. Her slender fingers were holding the pen as she wrote down her bank account number on the post-it note. Her beautiful side profile glowed healthily under the sunlight, and there was a peaceful smile on her red lips. Is this it? I didn't write it wrong, right? No. The corners of his lips turned up, and there was a hint of a smile in his dark eyes. Yi Siki put the post-it note and pen back into her handbag. Suddenly, a hand reached out to her cheek and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. She looked up in surprise and met his obsidian-like eyes. He chuckled. Don't move. Your husband is here. She stiffly maintained the position of looking at him. She pursed her lips and said in a low voice, Okay, don't go overboard. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. His voice was also very low, and there was a gentle smile on his face. From afar, they looked like a couple looking at each other affectionately. Lin Shihao was wearing a brown coat and bathed in the sunlight. He stood less than 10 meters away from them. His gentle and handsome face was covered with dark clouds, and his tall and straight body was shrouded in a low pressure. His eyes were heavy as he looked at the man and woman who were talking and laughing in low voices. His heart was filled with an indescribable anger and jealousy. In his memory, ever since the two of them confirmed their relationship, Siki had never been so intimate with another man. He had always been sure that Siki loved him deeply and was sure that she would be his wife for life. He had never considered the possibility that she might fall in love with another man. For the first time, he felt a sense of crisis in his heart. Xiao Tianxing seemed to be focusing all his attention on Yi Siki, but in fact, he had been paying attention to Lin Shihao's movements from the corner of his eye. When he realized that Lin Shihao had been standing not far away, the smile on his lips widened. He said in a low voice, It's about time. Pretend that you just found him. Although Yi Siki already knew that her husband was watching them, she was so nervous that she did not dare to peek at him. Her back was so stiff that it was sweating. After hearing Xiao Tianxing's instructions, she pretended to look up inadvertently. Then she quickly stood up and smiled brightly. Hubby, you're here. Lin Shihao's eyes moved slightly. His lips slowly curved into a faint smile as he walked in the direction where they were sitting. Who is this? He looked at Xiao Tianxing, who was still sitting on the bench. His dark jade-like eyes were slightly cold. Yi Siki hurriedly introduced them. Tianxing, this is my husband, Lin Shihao. Hubby, this is my new friend, Xiao Tianxing. Tianxing. What an affectionate way of addressing him. Lin Shihao's smile widened, but there was no warmth in his smile. He said indifferently, Nice to meet you, Mr. Xiao. Xiao Tianxing stood up and smiled. Nice to meet you, Dr. Lin. Next time you and Siki come to my bar, I'll give you a free bill. Yi Siki smiled and explained, Tianxing is the boss behind Charm Bar. Hubby, when can we go and have some fun together? Lin Shihao was still bothered by how Xiao Tianxing addressed Siki intimately. The fire of jealousy in his heart burned brighter and brighter. However, when Siki suddenly mentioned Charm Bar, Lin Shihao's eyes suddenly narrowed. The smile on his lips became stiff, and his hands quietly clenched. Bai Mei Wei invited him to Charm Bar every time. Could it be that Xiao Tianxing had already discovered his secret? No, it was impossible. If Xiao Tianxing had discovered his secret, he would definitely tell Siki. He slowly calmed down and smiled. Okay, But there's no need for a free bill. How can we let Mr. Xiao spend money? As he spoke, he calmly reminded Xiao Tianxing that Siki was already a married woman. Unexpectedly, Xiao Tianxing quickly threw another bomb. He raised his eyebrows and smiled. The two of you are really alike. Neither of you is willing to take advantage of others. Siki, say hello to little Nyonyo for me. I miss her. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Talk to you later. Lin Shihao looked at him coldly, waved his hand coolly, and turned to leave. Once his potential love rival left, Lin Shihao didn't have to keep a straight face. His face immediately darkened, and he sat on the bench without saying a word. Yi Siki stole a glance at his livid face and laughed inwardly. She quickly walked forward and took out the thermos from the bag. She smiled and said, "Hubby, you've worked hard these days. I specially made chicken soup for you." Lin Shihao snorted coldly. "I thought you didn't remember that I was your husband." He was jealous. Yi Siki had never heard him speak to her in such a sour tone. To be honest, she enjoyed it. She tried hard to hold back her laughter and blinked innocently. "Hubby, what do you mean by that?" He raised his chin arrogantly and stared at her coldly. "Don't play dumb. What's up with that Xiao Tianxing?" She widened her eyes in realization. "Oh, you're talking about Tianxing. He's actually Bailey Han's friend." Once, Bailey Han and Xia had an argument. To stand up for Xia, I went to Bailey Han to settle the score. Tianxing was there at the time, and that's how we got to know each other. Tianxing. His cold aura almost froze her to death. "You've already gotten to the point where you call each other by their names?" Yi Siki looked innocent. "Don't make it sound so bad. We're just ordinary friends." Lin Shihao snorted coldly. His jealous face was exposed. "I don't think he simply sees you as an ordinary friend. How did he get to know Nyonyo? Why didn't she realize that he was so cute when he was jealous?" Yi Siki tried hard to hold back her laughter, and pretended to be trying her best to explain. "Weren't you on vacation in Sonya 2 days ago? You were called back by the director in advance. I took Nyonyo to swim and bumped into him at the swimming pool. He's a very nice person and took the initiative to teach Nyonyo how to swim. Speaking of which, it's a coincidence that he went to Sonya to visit a friend and stayed in the same hotel as us. What about just now? You were so close to each other. What's up with that?" Thinking about how they were talking and laughing in low voices just now, and how Xiao Tianxing even helped her tidy up her hair by her ears, the jealousy in his heart rose instead of subsiding. He was in a bad mood, so I was comforting him. As for the reason, she thought for a moment and said, "It involves his personal affairs, so I'm not in a good position to talk about it." He stared at her. "You'd rather let me misunderstand than explain it clearly?" Yi Siki was slightly taken aback. His words made her involuntarily recall the scene of him and Bai Mei Wei hugging each other at Charming Attraction. Her mood instantly fell and she said gloomily, "Aren't you the same?" Lin Shihao's body stiffened. His fingers clenched tightly, his nails digging deep into his palms. He breathed slowly, trying his best to control himself, but his dark eyes inadvertently revealed his emotions. On one hand, he felt guilty toward her and wanted to compromise. On the other hand, he was jealous and indignant. The two conflicting emotions intertwined and messed up his mind. He almost couldn't control himself. With an ashen face, he abruptly stood up and said coldly, "I'm going back to the office first." He was worried that if he stayed any longer, he might say something that would hurt her. Yi Siki stared blankly at his back as he strode away. Her fingers gripped the thermos so tightly that her knuckles turned white. She didn't know when, but her eyes were already misty. Was he feeling guilty? Otherwise, why would he run away so quickly? There was a special cafeteria in the hospital that provided meals for the doctors and nurses, but it was obvious that they had missed the mealtime. After feeling sad, Yi Siki decided to send the chicken soup to his office. As she walked slowly along the corridor of the hospital, she occasionally saw family members supporting patients as they sought medical attention. When she saw the patients in pain, she thought of their marriage. Their marriage was also ill, but fortunately, it wasn't incurable. She had to work hard to save it. With this thought, her fighting spirit reignited. She straightened her back and stroked the hair by her ear. With a smile on her face, she walked towards Lin Shihao's office. She reminded herself not to provoke him when she saw him later. She didn't want to bring up the unhappy things. She just wanted to move him with gentle words. The door to the office was ajar. A woman's voice could be heard. "Shihao, I came to call you when it was time to eat just now. You weren't around, so I specially brought you a meal. It's all your favorite dishes." Yi Siki would never forget this voice for the rest of her life. It was Bai Mei Wei. Yi Siki took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. She tried her best to force a smile so that the smile on her face looked warm and natural. Then she gently pushed open the door. Bai Mei Wei's back was facing the door as she stood in front of the office desk. There was a takeout on the table. Lin Shihao sat in the office chair expressionlessly. He had a pen in his hand and was writing something on a piece of paper. He didn't seem to care about Bai Mei Wei's existence at all. Yi Siki's smile didn't change. Her voice was gentle as she said, "Hubby, I brought the chicken soup over." Lin Shihao suddenly looked up and met her eyes. Hearing Yi Siki's voice, Bai Mei Wei's body stiffened. She didn't rush to turn around. Yi Siki's smile widened. She walked straight to the desk and put down the thermos. As if she didn't see Bai Mei Wei, she opened the thermos and took out the lunchbox and soup box. The chicken soup was piping hot and emitted a strong fragrance. She then took out a pair of sanitary chopsticks from the bag and handed it to him. She said gently, "Hubby, eat it while it's hot. You're really too much. You were so focused on fighting with her just now that you didn't even think about how hungry you are. Come and see." Song Shu 566. Chapter 4:12. Lin Shihao's deep eyes were filled with complex emotions. His Adam's apple bobbed a few times, and he suddenly held her hand. Perhaps it was because she had been outside for too long, but her hand was as cold as ice. His heart instantly softened, and he wrapped his hands around hers. His voice was hoarse as he said, "Your hand is so cold. Have you caught a cold?" Yi Siki curled her fingers and gently scratched his palm. She chuckled and said, "Hurry and let go. Dr. Bai is still here. You're making a fool of yourself." He didn't even look at Bai Mei Wei. All his attention was on her. Not only did he not let go, he held her hand even tighter. The corners of his lips slowly turned up. "Stop fooling around. Your hand is so cold. Let me warm it for you." Yi Siki was helpless. "Hubby, don't worry about me. Hurry up and eat. Otherwise, it'll get cold later." "Gigai, wait for another 2 minutes. The food won't get cold. I really don't know what to do with you." The two of them spoke as if there was no one else around. Their sweetness was exposed, and they didn't have any intention of avoiding suspicion in front of outsiders. Bai Mei Wei looked at their hands that were held together. She really wanted to rush up and break them apart, but she tried hard to control herself. She dug her nails into her palms and forced a smile. "Shihao, sister-in-law, I won't disturb you anymore." Yi Siki smiled generously. "Dr. Bai, thank you for bringing back lunch for my husband. But he can't eat that much right now. Look, this extra portion." Bai Mei Wei's face was pale, and her eyes were misty. She looked at Lin Shihao aggrievedly, hoping that he would say a few words for her. Lin Shihao didn't even raise his head as he said indifferently, "Dr. Bai, Xiao Wang is still in surgery. He hasn't had lunch either. Leave that boxed lunch for him." Bai Mei Wei's entire body trembled as if she had suffered a huge blow. She reluctantly agreed, picked up the boxed lunch, straightened her back, and walked out with a lonely aura. "It's tiring to stand. Sit down." Lin Shihao pulled Yi Siki to sit on the chair beside him. His eyes were filled with a warm smile. "My hands are already warm. Hurry up and eat." Yi Siki pulled her hands away. He rubbed the back of her hand with his fingers as if to feel if her hand was warm. After a while, he let go of her. "Wear more clothes when you go out in the future. Although you look beautiful like this, I want to see a healthy wife more." Yi Siki pursed her lips and smiled. "I know, naggy old man." He raised an eyebrow. "You despise me?" She blinked. "How would I dare? I can't wait to like it." Lin Shihao chuckled softly and threw the unpleasantness that had just happened to the back of his mind. Yi Siki rested her chin on her hand as she looked at him. Her thoughts drifted back to a few years ago. At that time, they were still in university. Every day when they went to the cafeteria to eat, he would let her take a seat while he squeezed into the crowd to buy food. The other boys who passed by were all a little embarrassed. Only he was dressed neatly and had a gentle smile on his face. He carried 2 servings of food and walked towards her confidently. Her heart ached slightly. She pursed her lips and said softly, "Hubby, actually, there's really nothing between me and Xiao Tianxing. He came to the hospital to visit his sister-in-law. We bumped into each other by chance and chatted for a while." He had already finished eating and was tidying up the thermos. When he heard what she said, he paused. After tidying up, he looked up at her. There was a faint sadness in his eyes and his tone was bleak. "Wifey, I'm not suspecting you. I just have a sense of crisis. I'm worried that you've been abducted by someone else." Yi Siki was stunned. She smiled and said, "There are times when you're not confident?" He walked to her side and hugged her from above. He said in a low voice, "You're so charming, but I'm already old. Of course I'm worried that you'll be seduced by a young man." She pushed his arm and chuckled. "How are you old? You're handsome and in the prime of your life. You've already charmed a lot of women." He had even charmed a high-quality woman like Bai Mei Wei. He sighed softly. "I only want to charm you. Didn't someone just say that I'm a naggy old man?" Yi Siki turned her head and looked at his handsome face. She played dumb. Did someone say that you're a naggy old man? Why didn't I hear that? Who said that? I'll help you teach that person a lesson." Lin Shihao's eyes lit up. He ruffled her hair and smiled dotingly. "Naughty." She suddenly stood up and hugged him tightly before quickly letting go. "Hubby, although I can't bear to leave, I have to go. Otherwise, I'll be accused of disturbing Dr. Lin's work." "Okay, I'll come back early tonight." He bent down and kissed the corner of her lips. She was so embarrassed that her face turned red. She was afraid that someone would push the door open and enter at this moment. He helped her put on her coat and said gently, "Be careful on the road." There weren't many patients in the afternoon, so Lin Shihao could get off work on time. As soon as he came out of the office, he saw Bai Mei Wei coming out of the office next door with a leather bag. "Shihao, let's go to the movies tonight." She said it as a statement, not as if she was asking for his opinion. Lin Shihao frowned slightly and said in a low voice, "No, I want to go home early." Bai Mei Wei took 2 steps closer to him and said in a voice that only the 2 of them could hear, "Have you forgotten that we made a promise? If you go on 5 dates with me within a month, I'll give up the child. Do you want to break this promise?" Lin Shihao's frown deepened. There was a hint of impatience in his deep eyes. He said in a low voice, "The dates will start next week." She put her hand on his arm naturally and said softly, "I already gave in to you the last time in Sonia. Can't you give in to me this time? Today is my birthday. I don't ask for much. I just want you to have dinner with me and watch a movie with me." Without batting an eyelid, he brushed her hand away and said indifferently, "Is today really your birthday?" It was too much of a coincidence. He had neglected her in the afternoon and made her angry. Now, she wanted him to have dinner and watch a movie with her. He almost suspected that she was doing it on purpose. She looked gloomy and laughed self-deprecatingly. "Why would I lie to you about something like this? If you don't believe me, you can call my dad and ask him. Since it's your birthday today, you should go home and reunite with your parents. My dad has an operation tonight. My mom is traveling overseas. Other than you, I can't find anyone else to celebrate my birthday with me. Shihao, even if we're just friends, you can't just watch me celebrate my birthday alone, right?" She stared at him with her beautiful eyes, which were full of pleading. Lin Shihao's lips tightened. After a moment of silence, he finally gave up and said in a low voice, "After today, there are only 4 dates left. Remember your promise." She smiled. "I'll always remember it clearly." He looked at her deeply and turned to leave. He didn't care if she could keep up with him. On the way out of the hospital, he took out his phone and called Yi Siki. "Honey, I'm celebrating my colleague's birthday tonight. I won't be home for dinner. I might be back a little late. You and Nyonyo don't have to wait for me. Rest early." Yi Siki glanced at the prepared ingredients on the kitchen counter. It was sumptuous, and all of them were his and Nyonyo's favorites. She smiled. Okay, I got it. You can't hold your liquor well. Don't drink if you can. Okay. His laughter was deep and joyful. Bai Mei Wei walked behind him. She heard every word he said. Her fingers tightened around her purse, and a hint of hostility appeared in her eyes. If Lin Shihao turned around at this moment, he would be able to clearly see her face contorted with jealousy. Lin Shihao didn't care about what to eat at all. He simply said, anything. Bai Mei Wei's smile didn't change. She suggested Western food, but Lin Shihao still said, anything. It was supposed to be a romantic candlelight dinner. They were a perfect couple, and it attracted the attention of many people around them. Unfortunately, the male lead didn't give them any face. He was so stingy that he refused to smile. He continued to enjoy the food expressionlessly. It wasn't until the end of the meal that he politely raised his glass and said, "Happy birthday." Thank you. Even though she had been ignored for an entire night, Bai Mei Wei still smiled because of his well wishes. Ever since that drunken mess, Lin Shihao secretly swore that he would never drink again. So for tonight's candlelight dinner, he used cola instead of red wine. He symbolically took a sip of cola, put down the glass, and called the waiter over to pay the bill. When the two of them came out of the Western restaurant, the sky was already dark. The streets were brightly lit, and the cold didn't stop people from enjoying the nightlife. There were more than 10 people lining up at the entrance of the cinema to buy tickets. Lin Shihao raised his wrist to look at the time, and his brows furrowed. Bai Mei Wei smiled secretly. She reached into her purse and took out her phone. She waved it in front of his eyes and smiled brightly. Dang dang dang, look at what this is. It's an electronic movie coupon. I've already booked the tickets in advance. Lin Shihao didn't show any special expression. He said indifferently, since it's like this, you can go to the self-service terminal to exchange for movie tickets. I'll go buy drinks. What do you like to drink? She pursed her lips. Lemon tea. After she exchanged for the movie tickets, she stood at the entrance of the cinema and looked at Lin Shihao, who was not far away. He stood in front of the hot drink store, and the soft light poured down on him. He was as gentle as jade, and it felt like a lifetime ago. They were clearly so close to each other, but she felt like there was a gap between them. She wanted to cross it, but he kept retreating. In this tug-of-war of love, she didn't want to be the loser, so she had no choice but to force herself to get closer to him, little by little. She quietly picked up her phone and took a picture of him standing in front of the hot drink store. They were like two strangers who walked into the cinema one after the other. Under the dim lights, they found their seats. Bai Mei Wei sat on Lin Shihao's left. He sat up straight, and his hands were naturally placed on the armrests of the chair. He looked straight ahead. Even though the movie hadn't started yet, the ending song of the previous movie was still playing on the big screen. But he was watching it very seriously. Attention, Song Shu 566. Chapter 413. Bai Mei Wei knew that he was actually trying to avoid communicating with her, but this was a good opportunity for her. She quietly placed her right hand on the armrest of the chair, very close to his left hand. She pretended to play with her phone with her left hand and quickly took a picture of the two hands side by side. The movie wasn't good. It was a big production with a famous director, famous actors, and a huge amount of money. It was advertised that an elite Hollywood production team would be joining the cast, but the plot was terrible and lacked logic. In order to pursue the so-called cool scenes, the complete plot was abandoned, leaving the audience confused. Many people around them cursed the movie in low voices, and some even got up to leave. However, Lin Shihao watched it very seriously. If the plot wasn't good, he would admire the scenes. If the scenes were too fake, he would admire the actors acting. If the acting was terrible, at least the costumes were good. In short, he was completely immersed in his own world, completely ignoring the actions and emotions of the people around him. Seeing him like this, Bai Mei Wei became even more determined. She clicked and sent the two photos she had secretly taken to a phone number. Yi Siki was sitting on the sofa with Nyo in her arms, watching TV. The mother and daughter were laughing heartily from the costume comedy, so they didn't hear the text message ringtone at all. After the TV series ended, she carried her daughter back to the room to sleep. Only then did she realize that there were 2 unread messages. The number was unfamiliar. She curiously opened the messages. There was not a single word in them, only 2 pictures. The first picture was a profile of a man standing in front of a hot drinks restaurant. The background of the picture was a movie theater. Although it was a little far, Yi Siki recognized at a glance that it was Lin Shihao. However, she still couldn't believe her eyes. After zooming in on the picture, she confirmed that the person was indeed Lin Shihao. The second picture was of 2 hands placed side by side on the armrest of the chair. From the back of the hands, it was easy to tell that it was a man's hand and a woman's hand. The man's finger was wearing a ring, and the design was exactly the same as Yi Siki's. Without a doubt, this hand was also Lin Shihao's. The hand side by side with him should be by Mei Wei's, and the person who sent her these 2 messages should also be by Mei Wei's. Lin Shihao lied to her again. Yi Siki's fingers trembled and she almost dropped her phone. It was already past 9 o'clock and he still hadn't come back. Her burning heart slowly turned cold. Xiao Tianxing did not expect to receive a call from Yi Siki at this time. After the call was connected, the other party did not speak for a long time. He said, "Hello," a few times but did not hear any response. He muttered suspiciously. Could it be that the woman dialed the wrong number? Just as he was about to end the call, a tired voice came from the other end. "Xiao Tianxing, he lied to me again." Xiao Tianxing's fingers suddenly tightened. He paused and chuckled. "It's the right thing to come to me when something like this happens. Tell me, what exactly happened?" Yi Siki leaned back on the sofa and held her forehead with one hand. Her voice sounded very depressed. "He said that it's his colleague's birthday, so he wants to celebrate it with her and will be back later. But just now, I received 2 photos. She briefly described the contents of the photos. "It's obvious that he's with by Mei Wei. They're watching a movie together. God knows, we haven't been to a movie theater together for a few years." Xiao Tianxing's gaze turned cold and his lips curled into a sneer. "I didn't expect by Mei Wei to be so capable." She laughed bitterly. Her laughter was worse than her crying. "Yeah, I admire her too. I feel like I can't handle this woman anymore." Xiao Tianxing suddenly raised his voice. "Are you stupid? You still have me as your teacher. Under my careful guidance, it won't be difficult to defeat her. Let me tell you, the battle to protect your marriage has just begun. Don't you dare back out." Yi Siki's cold heart warmed a little. She laughed silently. "I'm not backing out. I'm just feeling a little uncomfortable, so I called you to ask for comfort and guidance." Xiao Tianxing said with satisfaction, "That's good. Yi Siki, don't be blinded by anger and sadness. Don't lose yourself because of this." "Myself? I'm getting more and more confused about what kind of person I am. Then do you want to know what kind of person you are in my eyes?" "Go ahead." "Chivalrous, passionate, straightforward. My greatest strength is that I love my husband wholeheartedly. My greatest weakness is that I love my husband wholeheartedly, so much so that I forget to love myself." Xiao Tianxing paused and said slowly in a low voice, "Yi Siki, let me ask you. Before you married Lin Shihao, did you have any dreams?" Yi Siki froze. Dreams. She had almost forgotten that she had such a thing. Ever since she married Lin Shihao, she only had him in her heart. Ever since she had Nyonyo, she only had her family in her heart. She had long given up on her dreams and was content to be a housewife. Her fingers gripped the armrest of the sofa tightly. Her voice was trembling. "Yes. What are your dreams?" His voice was low, like a muffled thunder that was thrown into the lake in her heart. Although it didn't explode, it stirred up a wave of panic. It was the panic of something that had been forgotten quietly revealed. She pressed her chest and said slowly, "My husband and I studied at a medical university. He studied clinical medicine, and I chose nutrition. My dream back then was to become a nutritionist." She grinned self-deprecatingly. "Actually, I've achieved my dream. As a housewife, I've been studying recipes every day. I want my husband and children to eat healthier and more nutritious food." He paused. "Are you willing to limit your talents to a family?" Yi Siki was silent for a long time. Then she chuckled. "Xiao Tianxing, Do you always hit the nail on the head like this? I don't mean to criticize you. I just want you to see your heart clearly. Many women are willing to give up their careers and hobbies for their families. They don't care if this kind of giving up will cause them pain or regret. Even if they don't get the corresponding return from their families after giving up, they still give up as usual. It's not because they're stupid, but because they still love. To such women, I only want to say one thing. Marry me. Yi Siki burst out laughing. If you don't add that last sentence, you can really become a counselor. Xiao Tiansheng laughed. What? Can I fool you? I was a top student with double degrees at Harvard University. One of my degrees was in psychology. She sighed sincerely. I'm impressed. I didn't expect you to be so amazing when you don't show your true colors. He shrugged and said arrogantly, So you've gotten a great bargain. Where else can you find a talented, good-looking, and free marriage counselor like me? Yes. I'm really grateful to you, Mr. Xiao. After teasing him, her mood was much better. Xiao Tianxing smiled. Let's meet tomorrow. I have something to give you. He always liked to be mysterious. Yi Siki asked what it was, but he refused to tell her the answer. He just wanted her to look forward to it. After the movie ended, Lin Shihao offered to send Bai Mei Wei home. Although he didn't want to have anything to do with her, from a gentleman's point of view, he couldn't let her take a taxi home by herself. After all, it was late at night, and it wasn't safe for her to take a taxi by herself. Bai Mei Wei mistook his sense of moral responsibility for his concern for her. Although she said those words politely, she was actually overjoyed. By the time Lin Shihao sent her home and returned home, it was almost 11 o'clock. The lights in the living room and bedroom were on. Yi Siki was lying on her side on the bed. She was curled up under the quilt and looked like she was already asleep. Lin Shihao was worried that the sound of running water would wake her up, so he took a towel to the bathroom in the living room to take a shower. After tidying himself up, he quietly lay down beside her and turned off the table lamp. He moved closer to her and hugged her from behind. She murmured softly as if she was dreaming. Hubby, he replied softly, I'm here. She suddenly turned around and leaned against his chest. Her right hand clutched his pajamas tightly, as if she was afraid that he would run away. Lin Shihao felt a sour and astringent taste in his heart. He lowered his head and kissed her forehead, hugging her tightly. The next day, it started to snow. The sky was gloomy, and snowflakes fluttered in the air. Yi Siki walked into the cafe where they had agreed to meet. There was a layer of snow on her hat. Xiao Tiansheng got up and helped her remove her jacket in a gentlemanly manner. She was a little embarrassed and smiled. Thank you. He gestured for the waiter to pass them the menu. What would you like to drink? She glanced at it casually. Cappuccino. The coffee was quickly served, along with a few exquisite desserts. Yi Siki gently stirred her coffee and smiled. Now can you tell me what you're going to give me? Xiao Tiansheng took something out of his pocket and placed it beside her coffee cup. This is a miniature tracker. There's a SIM card inserted into it. Put the tracker in the trunk of Lin Shihao's car. In the future, no matter where he drives, you can use your cell phone to dial the SIM card number in the tracker to get his exact location. Yi Siki was dumbfounded. Follow him? No. I can't do that. Xiao Tiansheng was exasperated. Idiot. Following him is not our goal. Our goal is to know his whereabouts and ruin his date with Bai Mei Wei. Do you understand? She was a little flustered when she saw the tracker. I understand. But if my husband finds out about this, he'll definitely think that I'm interfering with his privacy. I won't be able to clear my name even if I jump into the Yellow River. Also, I don't want things to develop to that stage. I think it's better for us to trust each other a little more. Xiao Tianxing sneered. You trust him, but he's lying again and again. Even if he has some hidden troubles, you'll still feel bitterly disappointed, won't you? Beauty novel, Hong Cha 866. Not only was the working hours short, so she had enough time to take care of her family, but more importantly, the work could stimulate her passion. As a housewife, her greatest hobby over the years was to study recipes. It would be great if she could bring this interest into her work. However, she hesitated for a moment and said, I'm afraid I'm not qualified enough to do this job well. I don't have any nutritionist qualifications. If you're willing, you can start as an assistant nutritionist. The current senior nutritionist is in his 50s and is about to retire. He's considering passing on his skills and experience to a newcomer. If you can gain his favor and learn from him, you'll be able to inherit his mantle in the future. Xiao Tianxing spoke with assurance. He seemed to be very familiar with his friend's hotel. Yi Siqi's blood was boiling because of his words. To be able to learn from the experience of the older generation, this kind of opportunity was really hard to come by. She said excitedly, I'm willing. Please, I really want to work in your friend's company. Xiao Tianxing's eyes curved as he teased. Aren't you going to ask which company it is? Aren't you going to ask about the salary and benefits? Aren't you afraid that I'll sell you? She smiled confidently. You won't. He raised his eyebrows. Why? The smile on her face widened. Because you're a good person. He smiled and shook his head. You really trust people easily. That's because you're trustworthy. After interacting with him a few times, she was sure that he wasn't a bad person. Even if his tongue was a little harsh, he was still a good man with a kind heart. Xiao Tianxing's eyes were full of smiles. He took out a business card and handed it to her. This is my friend's business card. When you're ready, take it and report to the hotel's HR department. Century Splendid was the best hotel in City A. The group also owned Century Splendid restaurant and department stores. When Yi Siqi's gaze moved down and saw the CEO's name, she was so shocked that her eyeballs almost fell out. She looked at the business card dumbfoundedly, then looked up at the smiling man in front of her. I am not seeing things right? You're the CEO of Century Splendid? Xiao Tianxing shrugged elegantly. Congratulations. Your eyesight is not bad. The corner of her mouth twitched. Then why did you lie to me and say that I'm your friend? He combed the loose hair in front of his forehead and pretended to be sad. Sigh to me, I'm my own friend. There's nothing wrong with saying that. She gritted her teeth. You did it on purpose. He nodded honestly, his eyes full of smiles. I did it on purpose. He wanted to see her shocked expression. Just as he expected, it was wonderful. Yi Siqi's face darkened and she harumphed. Xiao Tianxing raised his eyebrows and smiled in a way that was asking for a beating. Yi Siqi, you didn't expect me to be so amazing, did you? You should express a little respect for me. She rolled her eyes at him in annoyance. Yeah, I really didn't expect a rich playboy like you to be so amazing. Not only are you the boss of a bar, but you're also the boss of a 5-star hotel. He admired her angry look and raised his eyebrows with a smile. If you think of it this way, I'm very pitiful. I've dedicated my days to Century Splendid and my nights to charm. I don't even have time for myself anymore. Yi Siqi couldn't keep a straight face anymore. She couldn't help but laugh. All right, now that you've said it, it seems quite reasonable. But didn't you want me to express my respect for you? Why are you suddenly acting pitiful? Once you understand how pitiful I am, you'll admire me even more. He wasn't lying. To be able to manage 2 companies so well, he was indeed a very capable person. Although Yi Siqi didn't say anything, she was full of admiration for him in her heart. After calming down, Yi Siqi began to think about a more realistic problem. You let me work at your hotel. This is considered getting in through the back door, right? Will it cause you any trouble? Xiao Tianxing stared into her eyes with a serious expression. This is indeed getting in through the back door, but the one who will be troubled won't be me, but you. If news of this gets out, you'll be questioned by everyone. You have to prove yourself with your own ability and make them Gigai shut up. Tell me, can you do it? Her eyes were firm. I won't let you down. He smiled. Very good. This is the Yi Siqi I know. After leaving the cafe and driving home, Yi Siqi began to worry. Would Shihao agree to let her start working again? Should she tell him that this job was offered to her by Xiao Tianxing? She thought about it for a long time and decided to tell him the truth. During dinner, Yi Siqi mentioned that she wanted to leave the house and start working again. Unexpectedly, she received Lin Shihao's support. He smiled and said, Honey, I support you to have your own career, but don't work too hard. Actually, Even if she didn't mention it, he was also thinking about this problem. As Nyonyo got older, Siki had more free time. If she had nothing to do, she would feel bored and might even be annoyed. It was a good thing for her to pick up her hobbies again. Siki smiled happily. Thank you, hubby. Nyonyo, do you support mommy going out to work? Nyonyo blinked her big black eyes and said obediently, I support it too. As long as mommy is happy. Siki was very touched. She hugged her and kissed her hard on the cheek. When they went to bed that night, Siki leaned in Lin Shihao's arms. She raised her head and said carefully, Hubby, actually I've already found a job. I'm working as an assistant nutritionist at Century Splendid Embroidery. That's good. But when did you hide the interview from me? He ruffled her hair. Actually, I haven't interviewed yet. Siki bit her lip and mustered up her courage to say, It was Xiao Tianxing who introduced me to this hotel. He's the owner of this hotel. Lin Shihao's expression suddenly changed. He stared at her with his deep eyes, which were surging with something that made her afraid. His voice was deep and cold. You agreed to his request? Siki stroked his chest to help him calm down. She said gently, Don't be angry. Before I agreed to his request, he didn't tell me that this hotel was his. He said that this hotel belonged to his friend. He introduced me to the job and told me about the job. I liked it very much. He even said that there would be a senior nutritionist to take care of me. That's why I agreed. His eyes narrowed dangerously and his voice became even colder. You still agreed to accept the job after knowing that he was the boss? Siki leaned her head against his chest and said softly, I accepted the job because I really like it. Ever since Nyonyo was born, I gave up the job that I originally liked, but I didn't give up my hobby. I studied recipes at home. Home is where I show my results. Occasionally, I have bold ideas. I want to go to a wider place and show what I've learned. Hubby, if you really don't want me to work at his hotel, then I'll find an excuse to decline. Don't be angry anymore, okay? Lin Shihao's heart ached and he hugged her even tighter. He always remembered her dream. She said that she wanted to become a senior nutritionist. He clearly remembered how emotional she was when she said that. After Nyonyo was born, she took the initiative to quit her job in order to take care of the child and be his good wife. She was willing to be a housewife. She had already given up a lot for this family. How could he stop her from embarking on the journey to realize her dream because of his selfishness? Attention, Hongcha 866. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.